In 1992, the Tour de France intended to play its part in the bringing together of Europe as one economic community. 7 nations included on the route itinerary, taking in almost 4,000 kilometres. That's approximately 2,500 miles. The start beginning for the first time ever in San Sebastian on the northern coast of Spain. The opening prologue of 8 kilometres, bringing together 216 riders from 20 nations and in 24 teams. Steve Bauer of the Motorola team, twice a leader of the Tour de France and once finishing 4th overall. He was trying now again for the big time. Others coming for the first time to the Tour de France included Alex Zülle of Switzerland and riding for a Spanish team. While there was Andy Hampsten, once 4th in the Tour de France back in 1986, the leader of the Motorola squad. And there were others too, like Greg LeMond, anxious to prove to the world they were still great. The 3-time winner, back in the prologue time trial, anxious to wipe away memories of a year ago. And among the men that they all wanted to beat was Miguel Indurain of Spain, the winner of the Tour de France 1 year back, and now riding within 100 kilometres of his hometown, and anxious to prove to the Spanish he was still as good as ever. In the prologue time trial, he was. He beat the best time set by Alex Zülle quite convincingly to become the first leader of this year's Tour. So after that marvellous prologue time trial, the Spaniard Miguel Indurain is in the lead. Hello everybody, I'm Phil Liggett and welcome to our FCV video of the 1992 Tour de France. Well, as you watch this video, you will of course know the result and you'll know exactly what sort of race this has been. It's found a great leader to start with. Now let's enjoy the action together. And the opening stage, staying in Spain and racing around San Sebastian in the Basque countryside, 194 kilometres, that's about 122 miles, and as you can see, the weather is terrible. One ambition of the day, and that was by the rider in the green jersey, Alex Zülle of Switzerland, because Zülle now, a few seconds time bonus, would replace that 2nd place overall in the prologue with the leader's yellow jersey, and on his 24th birthday. He got the early bonus. Now all he had to do was hang on to the leading breakaway, being driven on here with the yellow jersey of Miguel Indurain very prominent. On the climb of the Jaizkibel, the same mountain used every year in the San Sebastian Classic, the attacks were thick and fast, and Armand de las Cuevas, a teammate of Miguel Indurain on the Banesto squad, was up at the front. The glacial descent, and this is Massimiliano Lelli, just about staying on the road there, and only just as he was in the leading group, which included Stephen Roach. They were all caught, and on the descent down into San Sebastian, an escape, a very late one at that, by Dominique Arnoux, a top cyclo-cross rider, and this was the day to use his expertise in that discipline, as he won the first stage into San Sebastian with the sprinters led home by Johan Museo right on his wheel. But the real winner of the day was certainly the Swiss Alex Zülle. His early time bonus had given him the leader's yellow jersey on his 24th birthday. So on to the 2nd stage, 255 kilometres, and it brings the race away from the wet and dreary coastline of San Sebastian, heading now into France. And immediately this is an attack by Richard Virenque, another rider in his first Tour de France, 2nd year professional, well 3rd season actually now, and he's actually now trying to break clear of the field. He's starting to build up quite a lead here. The object is the yellow jersey, but he's riding very, very well on the hills, and he's challenging for the lead too in the King of the Mountains. Franco Coccioli wears the polka dot jersey of leader in the King of the Mountains today, and nobody anxious now to the first rendezvous with the big climb in the Pyrenees, the Col de la Moille Blanc. It has to be said, this is a very flat opening to the Tour de France, but these stages, they're fast. There's been plenty of pressure on. This is again an attack by Virenque. He's been joined here by a teammate who's gone across the gap, Dante Rezzi, just off our camera there. And Michaud, the team manager, coming up and passing on the good news, because this lead is growing. Javier Mergialdi is the rider here, spinning it out with Virenque, who takes the prime. And he scored so well today, Virenque. We've still got the big climb to come, the Col de la Moille Blanc. And by the time, if he can stay clear to that, at the moment, the lead is up to 15 minutes over the field. So that's how much the big heads of state are thinking of this breakaway today. Here we are, Robert Miller in this chase group. And Moreno Argentin, the prince of the Spring Classics last year, but he's having a pretty rough start to the season. He's back after injury now in the Tour de France, needs a good ride. Back up with the leaders here, Merguialdi, the little Spanish rider here, riding extremely strongly at the moment and looking good in the sandwich of the RMO team from France. They've had a very up and down start. They lost Marcel Wurst yesterday, the only retirement so far in the Tour de France, with a nasty crash. He hurt his collarbone. Retzi's been dropped by the leaders. They're only 2 away now. And look at this chase group coming up. Claudio Chiappucci, Miguel Indurain, the world champion, Gianni Bugno, and it was Charlie Motte tucked in the back. And this is a group trying to get back on terms. Laurent Fignon is in that group, so too Andy Hampsten. And just look now how the Col de la Marie Blanc, well, they say it's not a tough climb here in the Pyrenees, but that was Eric Breukink. The polka dot jersey on the far side of Coccioli, tasting his first Tour de France, and now into his early 30s. And Pedro Delgado also not enjoying the tough slopes of the Marie Blanc. Well, this field has completely split up because of the high speed so far of this year's Tour de France. Greg LeMond also struggling. Sean Kelly on his back wheel. And the yellow jersey of Alex Zula a long, long way down the mountain. Let's go back up to the top. This is Richard Virenque, just about 15 seconds ahead there of Merghialdi, but the two of them still clear. The chase group and Charlie Motte took nicely on the back. What a powerful group this is. Indurain, Chiappucci. Further down the slopes, this is Stephen Roach and Andy Hampsten, Fignon. They have a lot of time to make up on the descent. Thankfully, the roads have dried out after the early morning rain. And the toiling up here, up the climb of the Marie Blanc, but Alex Zula now is in all sorts of trouble. The one-day leader of the Tour de France, that's the way it's looking right now, as we go off into the rain again and the slippery way down. Well, at one stage, those two riders have built a 90-minute lead. It's coming down quickly now. It's down to around about 7 minutes. Motte here, the teammate of Virenque, up in the lead, calling for his team car to get some idea of what's going on. But now it's the chase down and a general regrouping here. Something like 30, 40 riders getting back on terms, and Greg LeMond is one of them. Into the finish of Pau, the chase group on the pictures above the riders as they come in, but it's Javier Merghialdi who's gone clear, but the man signalling at the back is Richard Virenque. He knows now he is the new leader of the Tour de France, and that is important, especially when you're a Frenchman, bringing the race into Pau, into France for the first time. And look at this. This is Richard Virenque, and the tears say it all. The proudest moment of his young life. He says, I've got the maillot jaune, the yellow jersey, and there's proof of that. Richard Virenque, the new leader of the Tour de France. And so to stage 3, 218 kilometres, taking the riders due north away from Pau to Bordeaux, and a little bit of nepotism creeping in. Jean-Marie Leblanc, the director of the Tour de France, giving me the medal of recognition after 20 years hard labour. Well, I don't really mean that, of course. I've made a lot of friends and seen a lot of great riders over those 20 years. The Tour de France going on today, though, and the long ride now up to Bordeaux, and the weather at last a little bit more like we expect in the Tour de France. The battle for the time bonus is continuing. At Mont-de-Marsan, it's the Belgian champion here on the right in the black jersey, Johan Museeuw, taking on the demon sprinter from Tashkent, Jamaluddin Abdou-Japarov, and Abdou-Japarov narrowly given the verdict there and a 6-second time bonus. The breakaway now establishing some 100 kilometres into the long day. And this breakaway containing 3 riders from the Buckler team. This one here is Gerrit de Vries, who's on the attack. Noel Segers is also in this breakaway. Girotto there to the right of our picture, the balding Italian on the Carrera team of Claudio Chiappucci. The little rider just going through our picture there, Sammy Morels, Rob Harmeling. And this breakaway having now forced, this is the rider with the most to gain here, Pascal Lino. He started the day 5 minutes 6 seconds behind his teammate Richard Virenque. He's come along as the policeman, but he's well aware now, because this breakaway has gained almost 14 minutes, that he is the leader on the road. And if this group stays away, he'll be the leader at the finish as well. The rider he's sitting on the back wheel of there, number 133, is Gerrit de Vries. And not surprisingly, the main field now being led by Benesto. And now on the run into Bordeaux, and Piper has attacked, but they've caught him. He's gone to the kilometre to go, but they're right on him. That's Rob Harmeling, come past like a big train. Harmeling now hugging the barriers here in the sprint to Bordeaux. A year ago, Rob Harmeling was last in his first Tour de France. Now it looks like he's heading for the stage, but he hasn't really made a sprint here. He's more holding the top speed. That's Sammy Morels trying to get on terms, 100 metres out. Morels isn't going to catch him as he bobs and weaves. Rob Harmeling is holding them all off. He wins the stage. Sammy Morels in his second place, but the yellow jersey tonight worn by Richard Virenque. Alan Piper, the man of the day.
You're attacking a lot more this year. Is that because you're coming to the end of your career and you want to get the most out of it in these last few years?
Exactly, yeah. I said to my roommate this morning, Jim van der Lauw, he's only 23 years old, I said, You have to start enjoying it and really live for every day and make it fun, because it's such a fantastic life, you know. I spent 7 or 8 years riding and training and living 100% for the job and never really enjoying it, you know.
That attack with 1 kilometre to go was a classic move. Did you think you were going to get it? It looked for a while as if you'd got it there.
Well, I just looked between my legs and I didn't see anybody there. I saw the Coca-Cola sign at the finish. I thought, I just couldn't believe it. It's like, I've been dreaming about this for 3 weeks. I told this guy the other day I'm going to win in Bordeaux with one arm in the air like Miguel did in San Sebastian last year. It just didn't work.
Alan Piper there, riding out his final season as a professional. The race going on, the 4th stage now, the team time trial, which is the race that many of the riders don't like to ride, and this, the Motorola team, are setting off from the town of Le Born. The finish also here in Le Born, but not too far away, a couple of kilometres away from the finish line and the start line together. And you know, this is the sort of race that the riders don't like to ride, because although it's a team race, they're racing for the individual overall standings of the Tour. Steve Bauer here, riding very strongly in these opening days, bringing home the Motorola team. They've been up amongst the leaderboard at all of the time checks, top 6 positions for them at every one of the time checks, and 6th position was their final place as they came up to the finishing line, led up here by Ron Kiefel. Their time for the ride is 1 hour 14 minutes and 3 seconds. The time taken, as with all of the teams, on the 5th rider to cross the line. The Gatorade Team 2, nursing Tour favourite as far as they were concerned, Gianni Bugno, riding in the white jersey of the world champion. And Bugno too has made somewhat of a shaky start to this race. Laurent Fignon trying to work hard as he tucks in nicely behind the rider in the white jersey. Bugno as they come up towards the line, but their time too, 1:13.36. Always in the top 3 over the last part of the course. The overall lead this morning on the shoulders of Pascal Lino. His lead now over his teammate Richard Virenque, 1 minute 54 seconds, and 6 minutes 28 seconds of Miguel Indurain in the Banesto team here as the Banesto riders sprint home. They too not among the leaderboard all of the way, and for them a final position of 7th, 50 seconds off the eventual winning time. Back at the start line in Le Born, many of the riders, by the way, haven't taken time out to ride this course as they went down to Bordeaux, heading towards the start by car at San Sebastian, so they knew what they had to face. Greg LeMond and the Z team. And LeMond in his familiar time trial position, which a couple of years ago in 1989 confirmed him as the Tour's fastest ever time trialist then, as he took on Laurent Fignon one-on-one to win the Tour de France by just 8 seconds. Atle Volsvold bringing the team home here, and a word of congratulations to him from Gilbert Duclos-Lassalle. Greg LeMond happy with that ride. So the Z team, they finished in 4th place. They were 40 seconds off the race winners who were coming home now, the Panasonic team. This team, under the command of Peter Post, won their first team time trial back in 1976. And out of 26 events, they've won the team time trial no fewer than 12 times. They were back on top of the form, the best time of the day, 1 hour 13 minutes and 15 seconds for Panasonic. The RMO team, well, they weren't expected to ride too well as Carrera were heading up towards the finish. The RMO team finished the race in 13th place, but they hung on to the overall lead with Pascal Lino, 1 minute 54 seconds ahead of Richard Virenque. The Carrera team, leading on the early part, came home with the 2nd best time of the day, and this was good news for Claudio Chiappucci because he was gaining time over Miguel Indurain, who was still the outstanding favourite for the race. 2nd place for the team, Chiappucci up to 4th, Roach up to 5th. A year ago, Stephen Roach had been disqualified for missing the start of the team time trial. What a difference a year makes.
The team's riding extremely well, but you've been riding well all year as well.
Yeah, I've been riding very consistent all year, and since I rode the Tour of Spain, I've been getting better and better. But you know, I have this little problem with my back. It's not getting any better, but I'm kind of looking after myself every day. But it's a little handicap, but I'm very, very happy with the condition I have.
You must be looking forward towards getting to the mountains. You know, you've not got too much pressure this year. You've got other riders in the team who are taking the pressure, like Chiappucci. You've got Abdul Zaparov on the flat stages. Do you think we might see a Stephen Roach like we saw a few years ago in 1987?
Well, Stephen Roach is still the same with a few grey hairs extra, but the condition is better now than it has been since '87. So anything can happen. I think the level between myself and Duran is not that great. That if I can get lucky someday, maybe I can get a lucky break. Maybe.
The condition's good, but how's the morale? You feel like racing now?
never felt like doing anything else. And even in the last few years when things weren't going too well for me, that's how I was able to keep coming back every time. After every time I got knocked off the top, I was with a knee problem, with a back problem, I kept coming back. So I think the morale has never been a problem. Definitely not now.
If Kia Pucci has a problem in the mountains, are you good enough to take over, or will you just stay there to help him?
I'm good enough to be there when he has got a bad day. I'll be happy enough.
Stephen Roach remembering the great days of 1987 when he won the 2 big tours and the world title. On we go, 5th stage, 196 kilometres now. The riders heading up towards the Belgian borders, and the flag, the start flag, being carried by Michel Dernice on the Motorola team this year, and himself a Belgian heading towards his home. Stephen Roach, time out at the back of the field on these early moments to read the paper. And the man from Ireland really has found his old morale. The sadness of the days gone by in northern France, with the gravestones of all of the cemeteries that abound in this area. And the 2 world wars, a touch of wheels there, and that was Alonso who went down. And I think, you know, he clipped his head on the roadside there. Well, as you may well know, crash helmets are not compulsory in professional cycling in Europe. It's a matter of personal choice, and Alonso here might have required one there because he has hurt his head. And this is another crash too that we're watching here in slow motion, and one of the riders delayed there is Miguel Indurain, number 1. And a little friendly push off there by his teammate Jean-Francois Bernard, the Frenchman on the Spanish Banesto squad, along with Fabrice Philippot, both riders in the Tour. As the race goes on now, heading towards Vascal on the borders of France. And this breakaway, which is some 8 riders, has established itself. It's gone clear at around about 176 kilometres covered today. And Bauer is one of the riders in this front group. Jim van der Laar, Kengi Alta from the Ariostia team, attacked by Steve Bauer. Bauer has tried all day to break away from this group. It's partly because of his riding. The group is established in the first place, and look at this now. Bauer going for gold here. He's 13th overall this morning, 6 minutes 12 seconds back off the race lead, still on the shoulders of Pascal Lino, who leads by 1:54, but Bauer has a real chance now to move up. This breakaway has been building time. The race itself, because of the speed, is running some 50 minutes ahead of schedule. And the breakaway going clear. Bauer chasing a 6-second time bonus, which he has won, and that's going to help him move up ever so slightly in the overall classification. As the race now turns towards the finishing, this group has come all back together again. There's been a constant stream of attacks from Bauer, but he's been recaptured. He's in this group again, and that looks like Guido Bontempi is going clear. Now, this is a classic move by the Italian. The Italian rider, 32 years of age now, but he won on his big day in 1986, 3 stages of the Tour de France. He's won in Limoges since then, but he's now coming back to form with a lone win here. He's clear of the field. And 4 hours 5 minutes and counting the time for the day. Guido Bontempi of Italy, a clear win on the stage, but it won't give him the overall lead. Bauer is the man who's profited. He's moved up to 3rd overall. This is the result of the stage. Bontempi ahead of Dmitry Konishev of the former Soviet Union, 30 seconds back. The overall, though, there is that confirmed. Bauer is now 3rd in this race, ahead of Hepner, Bugno and Kia Pucci. And so the race moves on, stage 6, 167 kilometres, and now we're heading off into Brussels and across the borders into Belgium. The 3rd country that the race will have visited since its start in San Sebastian. Michel Dernice of Motorola on the right of our picture there, former winner of the Kellogg's Tour of Britain, smiling because, as he would say, it's typically Belgian weather. It's wet and it's not very nice at all. The border and the police in Belgium cheering the race across to their side of the country. And as you can see, no border check here. But you know, there's no stopping this rider. This is Claudio Chia Pucci. He's determined to attack, he says, all the way to the finish of this Tour de France in Paris, and he's pushing the pace again on the climb of the Les Clous. There's no real big climbs on this race. They're all 4th and 3rd categories today, and there's 6 of them coming. But they're short and they're sharp, because over the back end of the course, the riders are facing up to the Tour de Flanders race route before they break off and head into Brussels. And this is the group at the back here, Thierry Marie of France. And number 21 is Claudio Chia Pucci, 92 is Johan Capio, former champion of Belgium, classic winner. And 51 is Greg LeMond. Well, this is a strange alliance. They've gone clear at about 22 kilometres today on the climb of the Les Clous, and they're facing 140 kilometres in the lead if they stay away to the end. A time check coming up there for Greg LeMond. And the alliance of the two, the American and the Italian, well, that's a turnabout, because in the 1990 Tour de France, it was the great battle, and Le Monde had to chase Kia Pucci down the Tourmalet to take back the leader's yellow jersey and go on to win that Tour de France. But it's the Gatorade team, as Gianni Bugno and Laurent Fignon, who are mustering up the chase. Benestos are helping out a little bit. There's Thierry Marie, 3 times winner of the prologue. Remember that great breakaway a year ago, over 240 kilometres in the lead before he won the stage, which gave him back very briefly the leader's yellow jersey. And now he's in the move again. It's good to see the stars on the attack, though, because the weather conditions are bad. There is a chance of a good time gain here. They're sprinting out the small time bonuses. And Claudio Chiappucci takes the 6 seconds ahead of Laurent Jalabert. There's a little surprise. Chiappucci really can turn out the sprints when he wants to, and he's going to keep it going. Jalabert has sat up, but he's going to have to take him on and catch him up here, because the conditions now are atrocious. And there's cobblestones on today's route too as we approach the finish area around Brussels. This 4-man breakaway is building time. It's had a lead of over 2 minutes. And it must be very, very dismal in the peloton. And this is at the back of the peloton. These are the cobblestones I was telling you about. There's been a mass pile up here, and there's at least 20 riders on the ground. I think that was Rob Harmeling, the winner at Bordeaux, who we've just seen lying on the roadside there. And this rider is Gerrit de Vries, who was on the road, and also Eros Polli here from the Italian GB team. That is Rob Harmeling, and he doesn't look too well at all. The winner in Bordeaux is stunned here by this fall, and his left leg is looking very, very painful indeed. Let's go back up to the leaders, because they're still in the rain, but they're now in the shadow of the atomium that was built for the 1958 exposition here in the centre of Brussels, and that will depict the finishing line today. And the 4 are still clear, gaining time over all of the stars in the Tour de France today, and 2 of them are right here. Jalabert is going for the sprint, the sprinter from the Once team, but he's French, and the French into Brussels get the stage win. And in second place there is Claudio Chiappucci, third place Brian Home, and the 4th man over the line, Greg LeMond. Well, as ever, Greg LeMond is climbing up to 5th overall now, and the press annoying him at the finish.
There's going to be a sprint here in a minute. Get out of here! Get out of here!
Well, LeMond, as always, the hottest property in world cycling, even if he didn't win the Tour de France last year. And the only way of escape is over the barriers and into the safety of underneath this truck. He's asking for a little bit of time to get changed.
I want to change. I want to get naked. Sorry. Please.
Greg, you started this Tour de France off in a very tired state, but you seem to be getting better as the days go by.
Yeah, I feel better. I felt better since the team time trial. So.
These stages seem very open, and the teams like Banesto and Gatorade don't seem to be able to control the racing.
Well, when I knew it was the opportune time to go, because the break before with you know, Hampsten, Rooks and all that, everybody chased hard, and I knew everybody was tired, and it started raining, and when Chiappucci went for the hill preem, I just followed, and I knew that was going to be a decisive moment. Everybody was very tired.
You must be feeling a lot more confident than you were a few days ago when I spoke to you in San Sebastian.
Well, it's not the mountains.
Well,
we wait and see how I feel in the time trial. Today is just an opportunity time, and I knew on one of these days I could do that. I was hoping for was a day like today. So
every opportunity is a good one, though, in the Tour de France.
Especially when you start bad.
Either way, it must have been a great morale booster there for Greg. The overall lead, Pascal Lino still leading this race. Steve Bauer profited on the day too, and he climbed up into second place. This was the stage result. Jalabert beating Chiappucci, Home and LeMond. Overall, though, 3 minutes 11 seconds, the gap back to Bauer, and Chiappucci in third place. Alan Piper, now with Paul Schoem, is the best man to assess the race so far.
Well, and we've had the first week of the Tour de France. We've got it under our belts now. What's the story on the street about the riders at the top?
Well, there's been a lot of action happening in the bunch anyway. The last few days has been just incredible pace. 46.5 yesterday average in the rain, and 48 the day before. I've never ridden so hard in my whole life. You got Chiappucci and LeMond, they just seem to be driving. I think Greg's trying to get some time before the mountains. And yesterday, Indurain had me a little bit worried. He's my favourite. I want that man to win, you know. But I get the feeling he's a bit nervous. And I think it's because of Bugno. Bugno's like, he's the cool, calm and collected man at the moment. I just sense that Indurain's not quite as cool as he used to be, or he was in the Giro. You know, there's more competition. Chiappucci and Greg, Well, they're out there racing. They're racing on the flat stages. We've still got to have the time trials in the mountains. They're probably trying to make up as much time as they can. It's difficult to say what else is going to happen, but I think Bunyo and Indirain are going to fight it out. I'm hoping it's going to be Miguel, but I'm getting worried about Bunyo anyway. Chiapucci's looking really cool. He keeps coming and showing him his pulse meter, how low his pulse is. The other day he came along beside me and his pulse was 95, and I said to Phil Anderson, how fast are we going, Phil? And he said, 60. I nearly fell off my bike. You know, I know my pulse pretty well, and I think it was about 160. Any difference, that guy? Any wonder that guy's better than me, isn't it?
Well, I don't know, Alan. Winner there of the Tour of Sweden a few years ago and a stage in the Tour of Italy, retiring this season. 188 starters this morning. First attack of the day, Mario Cipollini, who is the Italian playboy, and although the weather doesn't demand it, the shades there making it look quite a spectacular sight, doesn't it? He's gained 5 minutes over a lethargic field. By the way, Bruno Cornier, Gerrit de Vries, Eros Polly, Falk Boden among the non-starters this morning, all victims of that big pile-up on the road into Brussels. And look at the faces here now as we head off into Holland, where there are reported to be massive crowds waiting for the Tour de France. Miguel Indurain still riding nonchalantly. We've hardly seen him attack since that first day in San Sebastian, waiting for the time trial, which isn't long away now, as this race traverses all of the countries heading down through to Luxemburg, where the time trial is. Faces here of the attackers of the day. Jörg Muller is up in this breakaway now. And again, riders streaking across the gap. This is Olaf Ludwig, the 1988 Olympic champion there. Jörg Muller looking over his shoulder to check to see if this breakaway is going anywhere. And look at these crowds. The police are estimating over 1 million spectators on the roadsides today taking this race into Valkenburg. And a nasty sting in the tail too for the riders. And if you want confirmation we're in Holland, well, there it is, even to the flags on the end of the windmill's sails. Well, this race has broken up and regrouped all day, but this little breakaway now seems to be going clear. Stephen Roche is in it. And despite his back problems, he really is enjoying his Tour de France this year. Roche driving a group here which contains Valerio Tebaldi. Here he is from the Gatorade team. Remember, that's Gianni Bunyo's team. And the Helvetia rider just behind him is Gilles de Leon. He's searching for a little bit of form. He hasn't had too much luck this last season or two. There's de Leon. Finished 4th in the Wincanton Classic in 1991, but really didn't get a win at all. Former winner of the Tour of Lombardy, and finished 3rd in Milan-San Remo. And the weather again is turning nasty. The Z team, Greg LeMond's Z team, being ordered to take up the chase here. Roche is the man with a lot to gain in this breakaway, and he knows it too. As we head up towards the top of the Cowberg here, up towards the finish, this breakaway is still clear, and it's clear by just on a minute from the main chase group. And the field behind has generally regrouped. Tebaldi sitting tight onto Roche's wheel, because once you're over the top of this climb, the Cowberg, it's coming away from the town of Valkenburg. The finish is a couple of kilometres outside. We're in South Limburg here, right down on the German borders, and this is the holiday area for the Dutch. They call it Little Switzerland because of the hills. An attack now by Rolf Jerman. Ariostia, this was to be expected. He's gone for the long one. He knows Roche could finish off with a good sprint finish, and Roche is a little bit slow there to get the back wheel of Gilles de Leon. De Leon safely on the wheel of Tebaldi, but you know, if they hesitate like this, then Jarman is going to win this race. He's gone clear, and Roche must be worried now. He's seeing the victory go away from him. De Leon isn't going to take up the chase. Neither is Tebaldi. They want Roche to do it, and Roche is going to. Roche goes on the right of the road. Now he rips away from the field. Tebaldi is slow on the uptake. De Leon equally so. Rolf Jerman coming up towards the line. He's been passed though. Jerman's been passed by Roche, and De Leon is on. De Leon has got this race. Roche is beaten on the line. So Gilles de Leon, another Frenchman, but he rides for the Swiss Helvetia team, gets his stage victory, and that will boost the morale for him after 4 hours and 21 minutes in the saddle today. And Carrero Girotto has led in the field of 57, and this overall now means that Stephen Roche has climbed up to 4th place, 4 minutes 11 seconds back. And what a battle for Chiapucci too. We're now heading to our 4th country in as many days, 265 kilometres on into Germany. Thierry Marie seemingly very happy this morning, but the crashes are continuing, and this looks like it's Fabio Parra on the ground. Well, this is absolutely amazing. History repeating itself here, because Parra crashed out last year on the bridge de Tonqueville in the north of France, and it was a bridge which has caused the crash again, and right on the side of the road too. And I'm afraid the way Parra is nursing himself, he's broken his ribs here, and that is very, very sad indeed. So the Colombian is out of the Tour de France, and very likely his final Tour de France. But you know, back in the main field there, nobody seems to mind too much about the crash. This is Greg LeMond. He seems more concerned about what he ate last night.
Chinese last night.
I didn't go.
You didn't get one?
Didn't make it.
So Greg LeMond talking about one of his favourite foods, Chinese. The others we all know is Mexican. This is Claudio Chiappucci, though, livening the race up yet again here. Just a few small hills today, only 2 fourth category climbs. They head out down the Moselle towards the beautiful town of Coblentz. It's on the confluence of the Rhine and the Moselle, and it is a great wine-growing area. But the weather, as you can see, again is atrocious. The attack's coming thick and fast once more. This race maintaining its highest ever average speed. Jesper Skibby is the rider in this breakaway. Number 166 here is Leonis Barrutia from Spain, and he slipped the field a little bit too. But still Pascal Lino is hanging on to that leader's yellow jersey. Bunyo flashing through our picture there, because tomorrow is the big time trial, and so that's why they're not concerned by this breakaway. It's going to be successful now, as Jan Nevens, who's broken away from the leaders in the last kilometre of the stage, and the Belgian rider, now 34 years of age, gritting his teeth here. The main field is still over 4 minutes behind, and his breakaway companions are also in his slipstream now. He wins the first stage for Belgium of this year's Tour de France. It won't affect the overall standings at all. Jesper Skibby there coming over in second place, Girotto third, Leonid Barrutia in fourth place. Overall, well, there's no change at all, except that Hepner is now up into second place. The race now transferring into Luxembourg by car for the first crucial time trial over 65 kilometres. So Miguel Indurain, the champion of France, winner of both of the time trials 1 year ago, is now on his way in the city of Luxembourg. And from this moment on, for him in this year's Tour, every second will count. 80 kilometres an hour, 50 miles an hour, and it's for this man, Paul, Claudio Chiappucci, at the moment.
Well, for a man who isn't very good at time trialling, is going at a fine speed here, over 50 kilometres an hour. This is one of the faster points on the circuit. We get a good chance to see the choice of equipment by Chiappucci today. He's using a spoked wheel in the front, that'll be 3 or a 4 spoke, and he's using a solid disc wheel at the back. But the man really is going fast. He wants to fight his way back up. He's got an advantage on the other leaders at the moment and wants to keep it.
Here is Laurent Fignon, twice a winner of the Tour de France in 1983 and 1984. He won both of those tours by virtue of his brilliance in the time trial. Now out on the course, and Miguel Indurain is eating into the men ahead of him, because this is Indurain, Paul, and he's bridging a gap here to his 2-minute rider. So that'll be Giancarlo Perini, I would think, the Carrera rider up the road in front of him. He really is riding. He's settled in so quickly today.
This man really has become the man of the time trials this last year. Look at the time there as we come up to the next check at 47 kilometres. 37 kilometres, he's going to go through in under 42 minutes. 41.51 is going to be the time, and he's so much faster. He's going to be 2 minutes faster than Gerard Rouet at that time check.
That is amazing. Now he hits the cobbled hill and dances away, and dancing away too, to big gains in the Tour de France today. And this is Gianni Bugno now coming up to his check here at 37 kilometres. And the second time of Rouet is already on the board, because the time of Indurain, 41 minutes 51 seconds, the best time, and it's well down on that. So Gianni Bugno is losing major time here to Miguel Indurain.
And Bugno is complaining he can't understand why Miguel Indurain is just going to count on the mountains and the time trials to make up his difference. As you see, he's gone down there 2 minutes behind Miguel Indurain. I think he's learning out today why Indurain is waiting for the time trial.
And so Greg LeMond are now coming through to his halfway time check. And remember that Bugno has gone through 2 minutes 8 seconds slower than Miguel Indurain. LeMond is faring a little better than that, because he's going to go through with the second best time. Greg LeMond pounding the gears, turning into that right-hand bend now. He'll just scrape inside the time of Gerard Rouet. So here's the closest challenger, it seems, to Miguel Indurain on the road.
As LeMond goes through there, he's 1:42 down on Indurain at the moment, but this morning he was just 1 minute in front of the man, so Indurain is really
taking the leaderboard by storm today.
This is Stephen Roach coming through now to the halfway point. There have been some stupendous times done by riders here at this point, and Roach is still holding on in there. He's going through the third best time for Stephen, conceding 1 minute 50 seconds as he starts up the cobble climb now, and the second part of the course to come. This is Miguel Indurain coming up towards the line, and this could be a tremendous ride because he is caught and passed Laurent Fignon. I wonder when that last happened in the Tour de France, if it ever did indeed. Look at this time by Miguel Indurain, the best man on the clock. He started very early this morning, Indurain's teammate Dylan Cuevas, but this time is going to annihilate that time. Miguel Indurain laying the foundations, I think, today for victory in the Tour de France, because he has come with a tremendous time. Fignon will not let him go. 1 hour 19:31 for Miguel Indurain, and he caught Laurent Fignon as well. And look at this, mobbed by the crowd at 49 kilometers an hour. And here's the arrival of Gianni Bugno, second last year in the Tour de France, and his time a long way off that done by Miguel Indurain of 1 hour 19:31. Look at this, in just 65 kilometers, Indurain has taken all of this time out of Gianni Bugno, and the world champion coming up to the line, Zenon Jaskula in third place with the time nearest to Bugno as he comes, but Bugno may even fall out and into fourth place here. That's what the time checks are indicating as Bugno comes over the line now. 1 hour 23:12 seconds, only third best time, concedes 3 minutes and 41 seconds to Indurain. The arrival of Greg LeMond now as he comes down to the finish. Bugno is in, he's conceded 3 minutes 41 seconds to Miguel Indurain. Greg LeMond, I think, it's fair to say, will be in the same bracket today, because he started off very quickly indeed, only conceding 47 seconds at the early checks, holding into the second check. But it seems Greg too has had a hard ride over the second part of this course. Gianni Bugno's time is on the screen now, the computer picking that out, passing on to Zenon Jaskula. So LeMond has gone slower than Bugno, a final burst for the line.
As he comes to the line, Greg really has cracked over the last few kilometres of this race, but he's still keeping himself in contention for the second or third place at the moment. LeMond really riding well. He's a kind of ride over the next few days, I think we'll see, going into the attack again, because he knows the strength of Indurain. 1:23.35, fifth place for Greg, but 4 minutes away from the time of Indurain.
Miguel Indurain with the fastest time trial ever seen in the history of the Tour de France. A massive gain over Bugno of over 3 minutes. Indurain now up into second place. Lino survives. And with everybody still talking about that superb time trial from Miguel Indurain, they face now the 10th stage of 217 kilometres, the road back into France. Miguel Indurain not in the yellow jersey, not far off it either. And still, Claudio Chiappucci intends to give Indurain a very uncomfortable ride, if he is indeed to win this year's Tour de France. A small win on one of the fourth category climbs today. There are 4 of them in all on the road back into Strasbourg, and the riders still putting the race under pressure. As they've tried to do every day, this race will simply not go slowly. Champion of France, Luc Leblanc, trying a little move there. Gianni Bugno also now searching after that massive beating he took yesterday, losing 3 minutes and 41 seconds to Miguel Indurain. Stephen Roach was another big loser. He lost over 4 minutes. So now they were looking for a chance here to try and get some of this gap back at least. Edwin van Hooijdonk, the Buckler team, on the attack. Andy Bishop there from Motorola, and sitting at the back there, one of the PDM riders. Didn't quite catch who it was there, but this is Steve Vow wanting a little assistance from his team car as he puts everybody under the attack. This little group moving away nicely at the moment on the flat roads now, but it's not to be as the field is regrouped here in the streets of Strasbourg. It's down to the sprinters again. And this is Vyacheslav Yekimov leading out the sprint here. Olaf Ludwig has got his wheel very, very nicely indeed. That's the man he's leading out. But watch the right there, Laurent Jalabert going. Jalabert has the lead. Abdou Japarov in the middle, and Van Poppel coming up on the outside. And Jean-Paul Van Poppel gets it on the line. The sprints at last have their day. 167 riders fighting out that sprint, won by the Dutchman Jean-Paul Van Poppel. But overall, no change, yet Greg LeMond seems depressed at the speed of the race.
When you start to head to the mountains, have you got any special strategy, or is it just going to be something that happens on the road?
I think it's just going to be something that happens on the road. It's about one of the most difficult Tour de France's I've had, that I've ridden before we've even hit the mountains. I think half the peloton, I know I'm very tired without even going into the mountains, and it's going to be a matter of survival.
For a lot of riders tired already, how do you think Bunyo's Indie team looks exceptional already?
Yeah, they surprised me. I don't know. I just can't explain it. They weren't riding well at all in the beginning, and everybody came on like rockets yesterday, and they're riding well. It's going to be a hard job for them, but you've got the legs like Indurain, nothing's too hard.
Well, the Alps are getting closer, but they're still 2 days away. We're now heading off into the Vosges Hills here on the 11th stage of 249 kilometres. Miguel Indurain done his job well in the time trial, now looking very contented and relaxed, riding alongside Stephen Roach there on the far side. And this is Rolf Goltz. Well, he won the Tour of the Mediterranean very early on this year with a huge lead by taking it all on the first stage. And now he's going for a long one today because the flag has only just been pulled in to announce the start of the day. The first climb of the day, the Col de Kruiseweg, and the field are staying bunched together, and Goltz's time is going up. A long climb here into the Vosges Mountains. Goltz now some 9 minutes in the lead, and the bunch don't seem too interested, do they? Well, I'm not surprised. Goltz 108 this morning, a long way behind overall. Former stage winner in the Tour de France, and over the top here of the Col de Kruiseweg. This is a beautiful area of France, and of course it was in the mountains here where the Tour de France came many years ago in the early 1900s to tackle the first climbs. They're steep and they're very hard, and the villages very pretty indeed. Alsatian villages here. So we head off now. With each turn of the pedal revs, the high mountains of the Alps are coming closer. Miguel Indurain in the blue jersey there knows this, and they're content to allow Goltz's head at the moment at least. Just finding out the battles for the King of the Mountains points. In all this year, there are 63 noted climbs in the Tour de France during its 4,000 kilometre journey to Paris. 4 of them all category, they're the big ones, and they're still to come in the Alps, and 6 of them first category. But today, just one first category coming towards the end, the climb of the Grand Ballon, the big balloon. And Charlie Motte here, well, his team has had a tremendously successful tour so far, and Jérôme Simon hanging back for somebody off the back of the group, and it looks as though Jérôme Simon has decided to fall back from a little attack he's launched there and wait for the field coming up. And in fact, what has happened here, I think the message has come back that the field has split, and Jérôme Simon has been told to go back to this group because Greg LeMond is in it, and that's Greg LeMond here, and LeMond is in big trouble here in the Vosges hillside. He's in second place here, being nursed by his teammates. The other rider here with him is in fact Jean-Claude Colotti, trying to set the pace alongside Greg LeMond. No, it's not Colotti, in fact, that is Francois Lemarchand, number 58. Jérôme Simon, good strength here in Simon, a stage win the Tour a couple of years ago when it was down in the Pyrenees. Well, this is the Col de la Schlucht, and the rider's going straight past Rolf Goltz there, and he can't do a thing about it. It was Fabio Roscioli and Dmitry Konishev. And just look at this now, because Goltz has been picked up here by Rondon, the Gatorade rider in the green, and Oscar Vargas of Amaya. They also have gone by him as they come up towards the top of the Col de la Schlucht. 2 riders already over the top here, Roscioli and Konishev. And in the sprint for third place, well, it's not really a sprint, is it? Oscar Vargas takes third place, and Rondon over in 4th. So Goltz, well, after a long breakaway, which gave him a massive lead at one stage, has all been wiped away now, the field splitting up behind. As the climbs go on, there's still the Col de Bramont and the Grand Ballon to come, and it's the Grand Ballon which is the big one. These are the 2 leaders now setting out the pace. Dmitry Konishev at the back. He won 2 stages of the Tour de France last year, including the one at the end on the Champs-Élysées, which they all want to win. And here, as we go over the top now of the Col de Bramont, they're clear. Third category climb, and Carrera continuing their great tour. And there's a nice little touch from Konishev, indicating to Roscioli, you can lead us down this mountain. You see the difference in the mountains here. The roads are very narrow in the Vosges, and this is Laurent Fignon now. Now this little group has got away on the climb, and Laurent Fignon, 4 riders here at the moment. Vargas is still here, and Rondon is with Fignon, so the Gatorade boy have 2 riders in the lead. And I just try to catch a glimpse of that class rider who's come up with them there. But it looks to me as though it might be Gonzalez who's come up there. Arsenio Gonzalez it is. So this is an interesting little group now. Laurent Fignon on the attack. That's something we haven't seen for a long time. Winner of the Tour de France in 1983 and 1984, when he was the master of the individual time trial and still stinging from that 6 minutes capture by Miguel Indurain in the time trial at Luxembourg this year. But there's no doubt that Fignon has been inspired on this climb of the Grand Ballon, because at the back of this little group now is Dmitry Konishev, so they've picked him up. And it's a very good ride being done here by the class Spaniard Arsenio Gonzalez. But look at the rhythm being tapped out on the slopes here of the Grand Ballon, and that's why Fignon has gone clear. Fignon now is free as a bird on the climb of the Grand Ballon. Well, there's still some 50 kilometres to go once he's over the top of this big climb, but that banner surely is inspiration now to the Frenchman. I can't remember Laurent Fignon riding such an aggressive stage as this for years, and he's doing it now on his new team of Gatorade, free as a bird. Well, this is a great ride by Fignon. He was 14th overall this morning, 7 minutes 54 seconds back, and now he's pulling time back on all of his rivals. Not too far behind on the slopes of the Grand Ballon. They're going to have to chase him down as they go over the top, because once he hits the high spot here over the top of the climb, this climb bringing Fignon up to 1,424 metres. It's being climbed today for only the 5th time in Tour history. We go back to 1969, when the little Belgian climber Lucien van Impe, who won the King of the Mountains title 6 times to equal the record of Federico Badamontes of Spain. Now Fignon has gone over the top in 1st place. He can add his name to the list, as now he decides whether he must go for it, and a glance over his shoulder, a flick of the gears, and I guess we know the answer. Laurent Fignon now winding his way down towards the valley, heading down to the finish. And this is Javier Merguialdi, who's trying to bridge the gap here to Laurent Fignon. He's recognised the danger of the escape by the Frenchman, but he's got a lot of chasing to do now, I think. Laurent Fignon, and now his car alongside him. But now the good news for Fignon, because the gap is hovering, and he's still holding on to a lead by some 30 seconds over the field. But he'll need more than that, I think, to survive. There's a little regroupment on the descent, but the field split up. There's some 40 or 50 riders, I would say, no more in that group coming off the mountain. And one of the riders who's missed the split is Jens Heppner. King of the Mountains, the polka dot jersey being worn on loan at the moment for Claudio Chiappucci. Going through there leading for Banesto, Julian Gorospe, very valuable rider on the Banesto team. It is such a strong team, Banesto. They are strong in just about every department required. Stephen Roach there having a word with Girotto, his teammate. At 61 here, Andy Hampson from Motorola. Well, they're going to have to make a decision whether they chase or whether they allow Laurent Fignon his moment of glory here. He's not an immediate threat to the overall lead, and they know that, so it looks to me as though Banesto have been told to limit the escape as best they can. There's those 2 minutes now, 2 minutes at 235 kilometres covered. That should be enough for Laurent Fignon. Fignon now clear. They're picking up the riders behind one by one. They go back into the field, but there's no determined chase here. They seem to have become a little bit disorganised on this chase down. No big teams have taken the lead like Banesto. We'd expect Banesto. RMO know that Fignon immediately will not affect the overall lead. Pascal Lino surviving another day, and perhaps even to take this race now to the base of the Alps at least, as Fignon comes into town, and Laurent Fignon is clear now. This great man, Laurent Fignon, heading towards the finishing line, reliving those great days of 83 and 84, and the crowd appreciating this. This has been a superb ride by Laurent Fignon, and it'll go down as one of the most popular wins of this year's Tour de France, I'm sure of that. He doesn't say too much, but when he does, he says it emphatically. Laurent Fignon, the stage winner, and over the line there. And look at this, only just ahead of this small group by a handful of seconds. And it looks as though it's Per Pedersen leading out this small group. Laurent Dufaux, the Helvetia, on the left. Well, Pedersen gets 2nd place, but the man of the day, Laurent Fignon.
Bon, dernière petite question juste en anglais, si tu peux répondre. How did it feel today to win a stage in the Tour de France after so long? It's been since 1989.
A great joy, because it's very long to since 1989. Yes, thank you.
So tonight you're a happy man.
Yes, thank you. Yes, very much.
A very tired man as well by the look of it, but Laurent Fignon recovering now to go on to the winner's podium. His victory today, though, some 22 seconds ahead of all of the men who matter in this Tour de France, and therefore the yellow jersey staying with Pascal Lino. Fignon winning ahead of Dufault, Per Pedersen and Elie. Konischev was in 5th place. Overall, no change at all. Indurain 1 minute 27 back and Roche in 3rd slot. And yesterday, the riders spending an enjoyable rest day in Dole, but now they face the first journey into the mountains and to the town of Saint-Gervais, which lies in the shadow of Mont Blanc. It's a long way. The crowd are in joyous mood, but the riders look a little bit glum. Everybody now expecting Claudio Chiappucci wearing the polka dot jersey of King of the Mountains to put in a challenge. Greg LeMond, he really doesn't know how he is feeling right now. Sometimes depressed, sometimes on a high note. Well, we're often asked how they do it on the road. Well, no one better to ask than the race leader, Pascal Lino. And the rider with him there is little Charlie Motte, and in fact Motte complaining over the rest day that he is not well, and it looks to me as though he's told Pascal Lino here to go ahead. The team captain waving on the race leader, because I think Motte is about to pull out of the race. There was a rumour about this before the race start, and in fact we're some 70 kilometres up the road here, and Charlie Motte is giving up the Tour de France. That really is a sad sight. What an amazing tour RMO have had. They lost Marcel Wurst on the first day with a broken collarbone. They've dominated all of the classifications at some stage since then, and now their team leader is out. Gianni Bugno, he will have to make a move very soon if he's to take on Miguel Indurain, and of course there's still Pascal Lino to worry about as well. Stephen Roche on the far side of our picture still having a great Tour de France. He really does look to me as though he's come back to his former greatness. We're on the climb of the Col de Salève here, and the pace is being pushed slowly here. But it's a long, tough climb, the Col de Salève. I remember in 1973, Louis Ocaña laying the foundations of his final victory to the Tour de France. It was my first tour, and I remember just how cruel these climbs really were. Pace being pushed by Benesto on the climb. And this will be Filippo, Fabrice Filippo in the lead. The Ario Ostia rider in the middle there is Rolf Jerman as they go over the top of the Col de Salève. And I think the other one is Jörg Müller of the Helvetia team. It is indeed who's joined them at the back. They're the three leaders over the top of the Salève. This is Perini. Perini is really having a surprising tour. He's already up there amongst the leaders. He's 8th overall at the moment, 6 minutes 44 seconds back. And Perini having his best ever Tour de France. Taking on the bottles, going over the top of the Salève. Chase behind here, Stephen Roche here, and it looks to me as though he's got Pedro Delgado for company. Two former winners of the Tour de France, 87 for Roche, 88 for Delgado. Delgado's now come up with Roche to Perini, and Roche and Perini having words there. In fact, Stephen Roche speaks Italian, coming back to the Carrera team on which he won the Tour de France back in 1987. And I think he said to Perini, let's go for it because we've got the gap. Well, one man who hasn't got the gap here is Greg LeMond. He is in difficulty on the lower slopes of the Col de Salève. This is a sad sight. LeMond had trouble in the Pyrenees last year when he couldn't follow the wheels. Robert Miller of Scotland and TVM has come alongside him. Well, LeMond here is only a few seconds off the back of the pace being set by the main contenders in the Tour. If he can hang on to Robert Miller, he might get back up to them and come round that hairpin bend. There they are. They are the leaders really chasing down. We've got 3 leaders over the top, just on 4 minutes ahead of Perini. And this group is about 6.5 minutes down. It contains Chiappucci, Jean-Francois Bernard, Miguel Indurain, Bugno and Hampsten. But LeMond takes a look across there at Neil Stevens of Australia, and I think LeMond is in desperate trouble here on the Salève because he's having trouble holding on. Let's go back up towards the leaders. This is Stephen Roche and Delgado looking across there to see if he can understand what is transpiring. I'm not too sure whether Pedro Delgado understands Italian or not, but they are still a little bit off the pace. They're about 5 minutes behind the 3 leaders at the moment. And further back down, the yellow jersey here of Pascal Lino. They're regrouping as they come over the Col de Salève. And this is a sad sight because this is Jogi Müller here. He's gone clear on his own because he managed to drop Jerman and Filippo, and they've been picked up by Delgado and Stephen Roche. But the chance of a stage victory, I think he's resigned himself to his capture again. He's looking over, he's seen them coming, I think. And Jogi Müller now taking a little bit of food on board for the last few kilometres towards the finish. And here is the train, led by Perini. Roach is in there, Delgado, Filippo and Rolf Jerman, the former champion of Switzerland, in the Ariostia colours there, just moving up the line a little bit. So that is a shame. And Muller has found the strength, though, to get on to the back end of this little breakaway group. They're still 3 minutes ahead of the chase, which is generally reformed behind now. Johan Museo is in here, so it can't be that hard if the non-climbing champion of Belgium has got back into the main field, and a general regroupment on the road. Pascal Lino, then, people predicting today he would lose his overall lead to Miguel Indurain, and it's not to be, I would say, because he's in that group alongside Indurain. But a chance now on this little final climb up towards the finish at Saint-Gervais for Steven Roach to make amends. He almost won the stage when we came into Holland in Valkenburg. He was beaten there by Gilles de Leon. Now will he have another crack at it? He's got a tough man to beat in Pedro Delgado. He's the policeman today for Miguel Indurain. And Delgado himself not yet free to try and win this Tour de France. I think he's already resigned that he's going to be the super domestique for Miguel Indurain this year. Delgado is 9th overall and 7 minutes and a single second back of Pascal Lino. The long climb up to Saint-Gervais, 3rd category in the rankings for the King of the Mountains, but you know it really is a tough climb. We go under the banner here, 5 kilometres, that's 3 miles still to go. Well, Roach's pace has got rid of Filippo and Perini, and Delgado looks to be in a little bit of trouble. Jerman looks round to see where he is, and look at this. I do believe that Delgado is bluffing there. He's gone on the left-hand side. Jerman's seen him come, but Steven Roach has got no way of lifting the pace. He's been at full rivet all of the way up this climb, and Roach has dropped off. Delgado, though, his move has been blocked here by Rolf Jerman. So the Swiss has a chance here because Delgado is renowned for his non-sprinting ability. He tries to outclimb his rivals, and perhaps this climb isn't steep enough for the champion of Spain, and that is purely in the sense that he is a champion and not the reigning champion, by the way. That's Miguel Indurain winning the title just before this race began. Well, the finish, and look at the face here of Delgado. We're now into the foothills of the Alps, and Delgado in his playground, bringing up Rolf Jerman, himself a great climber. Almost a winner at Valkenburg. He made the run for the line at Fairlem, but will he make it this time? Because Jerman goes, and I don't think Delgado will come back. Rolf Jerman's made no mistake this time. He's waited till the last possible moment. He gets his stage win at last, and he's delighted with it. The Ariostia rider wins the stage here to Saint-Gervais. Over 7 hours in the saddle today. Pedro Delgado in 2nd place. And Steven Roach comes over the line in 3rd. Well, that has been a great ride by Steven Roach. He's totally exhausted here. He's using the barrier of the commentary position to prop himself up. And Steven Roach exhausted, but I hope at least a little happy. Well, the face of anxiety here, Steven Roach, but at least he does seem to be coming back to his old form. And all he wants is a little bit of room.
Stephen, this is turning out to be a very tactical race, but you seem to be rising to the occasion again as you did a couple of years ago.
Well, I was always fairly good as regards tactics. At the moment I maybe haven't got the condition as the other guys have, because I haven't had a full season in the last 4 years, so I'm kind of lacking a bit of foundation because I'm a bit under pressure in the mountains, so just got to take the chances when they come, you know.
But today Delgado rode as a teammate, but you can put yourself in the same position too if Chiappucci goes away.
The problem is Chiappucci won't go. Well, if Chiappucci goes away, he never goes on his own, so I never have the opportunity to sit in the wheels.
Tomorrow's a very hard stage. We're going over some very big climbs. You've got a problem with your back. Do you think it's going to be a major problem for you, or will you get through?
Well, it's maybe a general problem. You know, I am the last few days. Yesterday I haven't been great in the mountains. Like I feel I'm a little under pressure in the mountains because of my back and that. But just every day is another day, so I'll see what comes tomorrow.
Were you feeling confident for this stage? The next 2 stages are going to be very hard.
Just take what comes, Paul. You know, I'm expecting to kind of try and do well in the Tour, and so far I've done exceptionally well. So whatever comes now, I just have to take it.
So you're pretty happy the way things are going?
Definitely. You know, it's 4 years in the head is kind of form, so it's kind of means I still have a future in this game, you know.
You certainly do, Stephen, as he holds on to 3rd place overall and finishes 3rd on the stage today as well. Indurain still holds on 2nd. Lino keeps the yellow jersey on the road to Sestriere. And so on to our 7th country, the race now heading into Italy. So Pascal Lino has proved to be a very solid leader of the Tour de France, but if the truth were known, Indurain really has never put him under stress. He hasn't attacked him yet. Today we expect to see that all change. We're now in the Alps for two of the toughest days for many, many years. The overall situation, just a quick reminder, 1 minute 27 seconds between Lino and Indurain, 1 minute 58 to the third man, Stephen Roche, and 4 minutes and 8 seconds to Pedro Delgado. Let's get back to the action. And what action it is, because Pascal Lino today must feel very unsafe. 165 riders rolling away now from Saint-Gervais-Mont-Blanc, heading across the borders into Italy and Sestriere. They face 1 second category climb, 3 premier category climbs, that's first category, and 1 all category climb, the climb of the Col de l'Iseron. Attacks coming right away from the start. And Claudio Chiappucci, the man who started them all, he never stops racing, this rider. Chiappucci first over the top there, the Col de Cézy, after just 31.5 kilometres, and that's the second category climb right behind him now, and he's already out on the attack. Chiappucci attacking today almost from the drop of the flag. And this very, very quick tour goes on and on. The riders never seem to know when to call a truce this year. It's been a superb tour to watch and report. Under pressure all of the time. Chiappucci, by the way, 4 minutes 54 seconds behind today in 7th place, and now in the leading breakaway already. Being joined on the attack there with Pello Ruiz Cabestany to the right of our picture. Cabestany, a Spanish rider, rides on an Italian team, and I'll tell you too, he speaks fluent English as well. Tilly Claverola, little Frenchman, former king of the mountains, the jersey that Chiappucci is wearing today, and this attack is looking very, very good indeed. Chiappucci, you know, is gaining time rapidly here, and the group is swelling up behind him as he steps on the pedals. Tilly Claverola, this little rider who rode so well in the United States this year in the Tour du Pont, in the defence of Greg LeMond, who ran out the winner of that race. It was Tilly Claverola that set the pace up to Wintergreen Resort, that kept LeMond in with a real shout, and then LeMond finished it off with the yellow jersey at the end. Well, this is tremendous climbing prowess here by Claudio Chiappucci. This is a day of attack, and we haven't seen hide nor hair of Miguel Indurain, nor indeed of the yellow jersey. Luc Leblanc is in trouble. The champion of France is in a little bit of trouble here. And just look at this now. Castorama rider who won the French championship just before the start of the Tour de France. He came here very, very confident indeed. He's now being forced here onto the wheel of his teammate Jean-Claude Bagot. So the race continues to climb high into the Alps. This is a superb breakaway by Claudio Chiappucci. This man, you know, he never thinks of what might bring on the morrow. He just starts attacking and keeps on going as long as he possibly can. And just look at some of the face of these riders. They look down to the dizzy slope. Sean Kelly is up here too. Gonzalez in this break, Perez, Bolts, Gaston. And this is a nice little breakaway. Some 10 riders here that have developed on the climb of the Cormet de Roseland. Beautiful scenery, and at last we've got a nice day in the Tour de France. Laurent Fignon, the winner of a stage only the other day, but now having to take his place behind the wheel of Miguel Indurain. It looks really cool there. Greg LeMond riding a lot better today as well. And number 29 on the far side there, Fabio Roscioli. He's had his moments in this year's Tour de France. Coccioli going through the picture. Franco Coccioli riding his first Tour de France, and you know, he's in his early 30s now, and he's not really produced the ride he was hoping for. He hasn't challenged for the yellow jersey at all. Coming up towards the top then of the Cormet de Roseland. Sean Kelly there sitting at the back of that group. Now time for the chance to snatch a bit of food and start the long descent. And this is the main field going over with the yellow jersey in there. They're timed at 1 minute and 10 seconds down on that breakaway, which is 10 riders strong. And this is one rider who's found himself between the break and the main field, because this is Sean Yates of Great Britain and the Motorola team, a new champion of Great Britain at that. Yates was in that leading group, which originally was 15 riders strong. He's been dropped on the climb. Now it's a question of whether he will be prepared to take the chances here to get back up to that group on the descent. He went over the top of the mountain, not too far ahead of the peloton, and approximately a minute down on the leaders on the road. Well, there they are, and this has been a great descent by Sean Yates. A surprising rider, Sean. He's pulled off some great wins in his career, but basically he's the strong man of the Motorola team. When they want pure speed, they send Sean Yates to the front. Here he is, though, up in a very early breakaway today in what is the hilliest stage of the Tour de France thus far. Little bit of a problem threading through the following cars, but the roads are narrow and he's through with no trouble. Heading up now towards the next climb, the Col de Liseron. This is the big one here. It was all around this area in February where the Winter Olympics were held and based in Albertville. And it wasn't the time to come and look at this mountain because it was covered in snow. But just look at the pace now by the man in the polka dot jersey. He's placed the yellow jersey in serious problems here. Pascal Lino is a long, long way back further down the Col de Liseron. Claudio Chiappucci has not waited for the last climbs of the stage to put in an attack. He's gone right at the beginning. He's done this before in previous Tours de France. It must be causing consternation amongst the leaders. And this is the best of the rest, as it were, as they're trying to reform behind. Greg LeMond is in this group. He's in trouble on the Col de Liseron. Greg LeMond struggling a little bit in that group. Let's go further forward of Greg LeMond's group because here's Miguel Indurain. Look at the difference in tempo now. Miguel Indurain, the centre of our picture, riding very solidly indeed. It's Alonso who's riding on Indurain's right. Robert Miller, his jersey unzipped all the way down, also setting the tempo. LeMond in desperate trouble again, just as he was in the Pyrenees 1 year ago. LeMond is going backwards today, and backwards very, very quickly indeed. And that is a sad sight. I think Greg secretly, you know, has been worried about these mountains coming each day. He's tried throughout this Tour de France to gain time on the flatter stages, to give himself a better springboard into the Alps, and it hasn't come. And this is the rider who is destroying Greg LeMond today. Claudio Chiappucci, second in the Tour de France last year, second for the last 2 years in the Tour of Italy. He's attacked virtually at the drop of the flag today, and now he's tapping out the rhythm all by himself. The breakaway, he is shredded on this climb of the Iseron. This great mountain which brings the riders up to 2,770 meters, and it's being climbed today for only the 6th time in history. You know, we haven't been up the Col d'Iseron since 1963. That means none of the current generation of professional bike riders have ever raced up this mountain in the Tour de France. And just look at this over the top of the climb. Over the top first, then, no doubt about it. Now, this is an escape of magnitude by Claudio Chiappucci. And Pascal Lino is also being forced to climb better than he's ever climbed in his life before, defending his 10th day in the yellow jersey in the Tour de France. It seems weeks ago now when he took the lead in Bordeaux, but now he has the rendezvous with the big mountains. And Chiappucci in no hurry to push home his advantage. He's heading rapidly now to becoming the race leader of the Tour de France on the road, and the rest of the riders are going to have to chase him down if they want to. Over the top of the Col de Liseron, and that is Conti, Roberto Conti, going over ahead of Richard Virenque. Well, they're timed at 2 minutes 20 seconds down. It's been a great defense by Lino. He's going over there only 2.5 minutes back. He was with Franco Chioccioli, and this is the Indurain, Bunyo, Roach, Delgado main group, and some 35 riders in this group. And LeMond, I think, is just tailed off the back of them. They're going over the top at 3 minutes 45 seconds back. And that is not a lot when you think that there's still plenty of climbing to come today, including the finish Sestriere. Here's Greg. He's just been tailed off the back. He's certainly not out of this race yet. He snatches a newspaper there to go up his jumper for the long descent down to the bottom. He's timed at around 18 seconds behind that group containing Indurain and company. So LeMond looking a little bit jaded here, but still very much in with a shout. And the American flag's trying to raise Greg as he goes under the finishing banner of the Col de Liseron. Still to come, the climb of the Col de Montcheny, a premier category climb, and followed by the finishing climb at 254 kilometers of Sestriere. Well, they used to laugh at Claudio Chiappucci, and they don't laugh at him anymore. If we had 10 Claudio Chiappuccis in the Tour de France, I don't think there'd be more than 10 finishers. This rider never knows when to stop racing. And don't forget the magnet of his home country now. He's being drawn towards Sestriere. 1952, the Tour de France ended in Sestriere with a stage, and the winner then, none less than Fausto Coppi. In many people's eyes, the greatest cyclist who ever lived. And Coppi now will be delighted at the way this young man is taking the riders on in the Tour de France today. Bunyo must be a little confused today as he rides alongside his teammate Alonso. Bunyo really has been very disappointing in this Tour de France. He lost over 3 minutes, lost in fact 3 minutes 40 seconds in the time trial in Luxemburg. That must have done an awful lot of damage to his confidence. I said that was Alonso, by the way. It's Rondon, Abelardo Rondon of the Gatorade team. Alongside him, Alonso's the teammate of Benesto leader Indurain. Gert-Jan Teunis on the far side of our picture. We've not seen too much of him either in this year's Tour de France. Now riding with a very select group indeed. As we continue to move along this line of riders here, this is the group beginning to splinter. An attack there by Bunyo, and it's Rondon, this great climber, who's leading out Bunyo and launching him into attack here. But it looks to me as though Indurain himself has climbed his way steadily up to the back wheel of the world champion. So there's no doubt then who Indurain considers his main challenger for this year's Tour de France. As we go up to the top of the climb now, the Col de Montchény, and it's still the same man at the front. He's won every climb today in the Alps, and that is going to give him a near unassailable lead in the King of the Mountains competition. As they come up towards the top of the climb, we've got Bunyo and Indurain now chasing them down. So the big names, it's been a struggle, but they've forced their way to the front here. 3 minutes and 33 seconds down on Claudio Chiappucci. That's a long way. And Chiappucci is still the leader on the road, because this is a lot further back now to the climbing there of Lino. He's had a bad climb on Montchény. And Andy Hampson's had a much better climb. He's come right up to the fore here. Goes over in 4th place. With him is Franco Vona. They are just over 4 minutes down on Claudio Chiappucci. And so they're chasing now down the other side of the climb of the Montchény. And if you look up the road, down there below us, and it is the world champion in the slipstream of Miguel Indurain. And the maillot jaune, by the way, Lino, is 5.5 minutes down on Chiappucci, and that will keep him out of the yellow jersey. Chiappucci could be in yellow tonight. The man he's got to worry about, and indeed the man who's worried about him, is Miguel Indurain. He is now trying to chase down Claudio Chiappucci, and that is going to be some chase. They've been joined there. So it looks as though Bunyo, Indurain, Hampson and Vona have got themselves together. Oh dear me, look at the face now of Claudio Chiappucci, because he's on the last climb. This is the climb up to Sestriere itself. Surely he's not going to crack now. This has been an escape of magnitude. Some 190 kilometers in the lead so far for Claudio Chiappucci. And this will go in the history books as one of the escapes of any Tour de France in modern times. Indurain knows it too. And this is the first time we've seen Indurain come out in this race and have to take on the racing himself and not rely on his team to close this race down. The only time that Indurain has really put his own effort into this race has been in the first time trial at Luxembourg. He built himself such a comfortable lead there. He hasn't really had a chance or wanted to do anything so far. But now he knows if he's going to save this Tour de France, he's got to stop Chiappucci, and he's got to stop him today. So Indurain, Bunyo alongside, and Bunyo will be content to see Indurain spend his energy now, maybe to find chance to attack him tomorrow on the long road to Alpe d'Huez, where he's won for the last 2 years, and indeed the only Italian ever to win, apart from Fausto Coppi, way back in 1952. Well, the crowd have been watching this on television, and they've been watching this rider out in front for 4 hours today. They've been watching him come slowly towards them, and Chiappucci now surely can't lose this stage. And Bunyo's in trouble. Well, look at this. There's been an acceleration of the front. It was Franco Vona who's turned the screw a little tighter. And this has caused Bunyo to be in a spot of trouble. And I'm sure that Indurain has noted that. Well, he hasn't done a lot. He's tried to follow Indurain, and he's still lost ground here. So Bunyo will be very, very unhappy with his form so far in this year's Tour de France. Long, steady climb. This brings them up to the top in Sestriere. Big crowd are waiting too, and Hampson is also in trouble here. Andy Hampson has tailed off. He falls back here to Miguel Indurain. Our camera's not allowed to go past these two riders by the international race referees. So we'll go back up and join Claudio Chiappucci. The gap is still there. It's coming down at the start of this climb with 10 kilometers to go to the top. That's 6 miles. He was leading by 2 minutes and 20 seconds on those 4 riders we've just seen, but they've split up now. Franco Vona here also trying to have a little go. The cheers for Bunyo on the right of our picture there. Indurain trying to make his attempt here now to open up the gap. He's got to close this gap down. It's man on man now. Indurain isn't worried about his finish position today. He's more worried about the actual time gains of Claudio Chiappucci, who could be heading for the maillot jaune right now because Pascal Lino is in terrible trouble and losing a lot of time today. The yellow jersey could be the return now after this marvellous ride by Claudio Chiappucci. It will go down as one of the finest escapes I've ever seen in any of 20 Tours de France, and the Italians know it too. They're trying to coax, pull and drag their man home in Italy. The Tour de France very rarely makes an incursion into Italy, and surely now they're not going to allow Claudio Chiappucci to lose not just the stage win, but the manner in which he has won this race. He's not been afraid of anybody in this year's Tour. He's attacked the minute this stage has started, and I can't believe when he attacked at the beginning of today's stage of 254 kilometres, he really expected to be in this position now coming up to the finish. Look at this crowd. And even the motorbikes are in the way now, and this is really unfortunate because you lose your rhythm. And actually, Chiappucci just asking the crowd to pull back, let him see the road to the finish, please, at Sestriere. It's not just for the stage win. Every push of those pedals is gaining time, he hopes, but Indurain now is trying desperately to breach the gap. Franco Vona, by the way, is lodged in between these two. Our camera's staying rightly on the one-on-one battle, and Indurain, knowing that it could be the yellow jersey that awaits him at the finish tonight, if he can control the attack now by Chiappucci. He was the man with the most to gain at the start. He started in second place overall. He will know as well as everybody else now that the yellow jersey of Pascal Lino has cracked on this mountain stage to Sestriere. Chiappucci trying desperately to pull time away from Indurain. 1 kilometre to go. Indurain is closing the gap slowly but ever so slowly. The gap was 2 minutes. It's now inside 1 minute and 3/4. Franco Vona lost somewhere between the two, and nobody really minding that. So the arrival of Claudio Chiappucci, and this will be remembered as one of the finest escapes in the history of the Tour de France, in the manner of Fausto Coppi. All he's got to do now is hang on just long enough to come to the finishing line. All of his folks are waiting for him in Sestriere. He's climbed over the top of the Col de Cézy, the Cornet de Roselon, the Col de Liseron, the Col de Montchény, and now the climb at Sestriere. Maximum points today in the King of the Mountains, maximum in the Accolade Stakes as well for Claudio Chiappucci. Time will tell whether he's done enough to take the overall lead. He certainly stitched up the King of the Mountains in this year's Tour de France, and just look at this now, the moment of adulation. Claudio Chiappucci has pulled off one of the finest rides in the modern history of the Tour de France in the manner of that great campionissimo Fausto Coppi. He'll go down in the history books by the end of this stage, and his face tells the story. Franco Vona, we see him at last, locked in between the battle between Indurain and Chiappucci. Vona coming in. Franco Vona arriving 1 minute 34 seconds back, and Indurain almost catching him. And you know, this will be enough to give Indurain the yellow jersey. He's finishing about 1 3/4 minutes down on Claudio Chiappucci. We know that Lino is a long way behind today, so Indurain will now be the new leader of the Tour de France. Bunyo's been forced to try and counter the moves of the stars today. He looks terrible here. He's coming home in 4th place, but almost 3 minutes back. World champion finishing in 4th slot. And the lonely figure of Andy Hampsten. This was the breakaway group that has shaped the race of today. Hampsten, like Bunyo, cracked on the climb up to Sestriere. But this will also assure Andy Hampsten now of a high position in the overall classification. He'll move up into the top 10, and his time gap somewhere around 3.5 minutes.
Problem riding at distances like today's distance, and yet you only finished 1 minute 30 seconds behind Indurain. You must be pretty pleased with that performance.
Yeah, usually something this long, it's just my motor doesn't hold up. You know, but I was taking care of myself today. I had a little bit of problem. I caught a bunch of plastic in my bike and screwed up my gears halfway up the last 10 Ks, but limited my losses, and I'm pleased. You know, usually it's not where I'm good.
But after a hard stage like today, how can you think about tomorrow? Because you've got to try and do the same thing again. Any thoughts for Alduez?
I'm not thinking about tomorrow.
I don't blame you, Andy, and I suspect that neither is Claudio Chiappucci. Kier Pucci said after the finish that it would be up to the journalists to decide if his ride was a historical one or not. It certainly was. He finished ahead of Vona and Indurain. Indurain, though, the new leader now by 1 minute and 42 seconds ahead of Kier Pucci. And now they face the stage they've talked about since the route was announced last October. The long ride to Alpe d'Huez with the vicious climbs of the Col de Galibier, the Col de la Croix de Fer and the Alpe d'Huez itself. And it all begins as they leave Sestriere immediately. After only 7 kilometres, they find themselves here on the climb of the Col de Montgenèvre. And at the start this morning, the devastation of yesterday was there for all to see. 18 riders had abandoned or given up or been eliminated in the Tour de France yesterday. Greg LeMond had survived, but by the skin of his teeth. 49 minutes he lost yesterday, and LeMond was not expected even to come out to the start. But he did. But he was in trouble right at the start of the climb and was already being tailed off by the big field. The climb, Col de Montgenèvre, second category climb, is really a very vicious introduction to the 3 big mountains to come. The Banesto team are now trying to get some sort of order in this race and look after their team leader in the new yellow jersey of Miguel Indurain. Everybody felt this was the way the Tour de France was going. Now he had the lead, he will be able to keep it. But what was Claudio Kier Pucci thinking? Because here was a rider now, surely he must be exhausted after that breakaway of over 200 kilometres only yesterday. The face of Miguel Indurain giving nothing away, but I think the face of Greg LeMond here was giving everything away. He was now in big trouble on this climb. As he starts the climb, he was tailed. Gilbert Duclos-Lazal is the rider who's gone back to try and help him out. His faithful Z teammate, winner this year of Paris-Roubaix. The pressure at the front continues. Yannick Bugno here. Neil Stevens riding extremely well, but Bugno trying to escape very early on here. Bugno needs to do something now. Franco Chioccioli too. That's at the front. We're now at the back of the race here. The cameras are hovering here with Greg LeMond, expecting him to throw in the towel. He had a bad tour last year in the Alps, in the Pyrenees rather. Now we're in the Alps, he's in trouble again. And at the front, this breakaway trying desperately to establish something. We're onto the climb now of the Col de Galibier. And it goes up via the climb of the Col de Lauterey, which doesn't even warrant as a noted climb in this year's Tour de France. Look at, oh dear me, and that is the fault of a spectator, and Bugno's made that quite apparent. Bugno brought down, what, about a kilometre or so from the summit of the Galibier. Robert Miller also on the floor. So Miller trying to get going again, and the spectators pushing Miller back into the fray. And Bugno already off up the road. A little helping hand here for Robert to try and get back through. But that really is too bad, you know. They shouldn't have got that close on that tight left-hander. Maybe they didn't see them coming up, but that is a shame. Miller's now going to have to thread his way around the cars here. Now, this is the sort of attack that Miller would have tried to have done today. He's done it before. Let's have a look at that slow motion again. Watch the left of the picture. Bugno hits the spectator in the pink there. Fignon dodges it nicely, and ouch. Bugno made his feelings felt there. And unfortunately Miller too, and here he is now trying to get back up to the leaders. And look at that drop. If you go off the edge there, well, you need a parachute, don't you? Miller going back up towards the leaders as we climb to the top of the Col de Galibier. The main field is not split up too much as far as the main strong men. This is Franco Chioccioli here, and he's trying now to force the issue and really distinguish himself in this year's Tour de France. Now no longer seen as a likely winner of this race. Perhaps he feels he's got the chance to establish his lead over the top of the Col de Galibier for Chioccioli. And now the long descent before they start the climb of the Col de la Croix de Fer. That really is a vicious climb. Laurent Fignon again in action, but now thinking more of helping his teammate and team leader Gianni Bugno. Fignon over the top, followed by Bugno. Bugno at last is out on the attack. And Claudio Kier Pucci, he doesn't really seem to be showing signs of fatigue after that long breakaway yesterday. And Indurain is right within there. Robert Miller too is up in this group. Pascal Lino not too far away, the rider who yesterday lost his leader's yellow jersey. But Greg LeMond is in all sorts of trouble here. He's climbing alone at the bottom of the climb. Gilbert Duclos-Lazal was with him, but he's now over 15 minutes off the lead. And Greg LeMond is in big trouble. There is Gilbert Duclos-Lazal. He's still trying to hang back and coax Greg to the top of the Galibier. Over the top of the Galibier for Greg LeMond, but you know, with the Col de la Croix de Fer to come and the long climb of Alpe d'Huez, Greg LeMond now is in real danger of being eliminated from this Tour de France. Fignon, no thoughts of worrying where Greg is right now, is driving this little group on over the top of the Galibier. Chioccioli hugging his back wheel nicely, the world champion Gianni Bugno. And the Once rider up here is Neil Stevens, and must be asking himself what on earth he's doing with this sort of talent, because with every respect to Neil, and he's a good mate of mine, Stevens knows he can't climb like these boys. And now how to gain time on the way down. Clipping the edges of the hairpin bends there. Bunyo anxious now, but it's too late because Indurain has crossed the gap. Indurain is up there. That group has reformed. Bunyo is now in this group containing Indurain, having to take the wheel of the yellow jersey. Chiappucci is here. Stevens is still here. There's Franco Chioccioli sitting at the back of this very select group of riders. And this rider here, just about hanging on, is Fernando Pinheiro of the Festina team. And this little group is becoming very select indeed, and it's getting bigger by the minute. An attack by the Z team. This is Eric Boyer. Again, a rider who has had his moments in the Tour de France, the man responsible for nursing Greg LeMond through last year's Tour on that hilly stage to Val Lorenz in the Pyrenees. But now the news is LeMond is in all difficulties and approaching the village of Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne, which is the feeding station, and is a long way behind this group now, trying to fight out the situation as they hit the Col de la Croix de Fer. Coccioli has had his moments today, but he's been joined by these select group of riders at the front. And this is Franco Chioccioli, who's been in the frame all day. Eric Boyer of the Z team, and that is Jesus Montoya of the Almighty. Andy Hampsten is now up here, and Jan Nevens, there's a surprise. Jan Nevens, the winner of one stage of this year's Tour de France. That in itself was a bit of a shock down in Koblenz. And now he's on this very select group on the climb here of the Col de la Croix de Fer. Well, we saw the attack a little bit earlier on by Pinheiro, but he's been caught and passed, and now there's trouble way down the mountain for Greg LeMond. LeMond here is discussing the day with Roger Lezay, and we're now in the village here of Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne. It's the feeding station, and you know, I think this is the end for Greg LeMond. He's not going on, he's refusing the food there, and I think he's no choice really, because if he were to go on, I think he would be eliminated from the Tour de France today, and this is a sad sight. Greg LeMond, the three-time winner, being forced for the first time in his career to abandon the Tour de France. It's all over for him. So all the promise of what he might do after that great win in the Tour du Pont, it's not come to anything in the Tour de France. This has been just simply too quick for him. On the very first day, they've run off at record speeds. It's destroyed more morale than just Greg LeMond's too, I can tell you. Gianni Bunyo, who's still very much in with a chance, but no longer, in my opinion, of winning this Tour de France. He's now going to have to try and salvage a very good finish, though, in Paris. This is the group away. It's causing all the trouble. Jesus Montoya on the left in the Amaya colours. Jan Nevens, Andy Hampsten, Franco Bona. But also now another man suffering a little bit further down the slope is Stephen Roach of the Carrera team. And the heat of the day now as they head out on the Col de la Croix de Fer. And they know that when they're over the top of this, they still have to climb all the way up to Alpe d'Huez. Sean Kelly, the grand winner, just peeking into our picture on the right here, of Milan-San Remo this year, up on the far side. Just out of our picture now is Coccioli. Thierry Claverola. Oh, and dear me, look at the face now of this great Frenchman. Laurent Fignon once rode to the top of Alpe d'Huez and claimed the yellow jersey and went on to win the Tour de France. That's not going to happen today. He said no to a drink. He continues to climb. Well, if you weren't going to Alpe d'Huez, the place to come and watch the Tour de France in any year is on the narrow approach here of the Col de la Croix de Fer. I never know where they put all the cars, but the people always come in their thousands. And these are the leading riders now, led over the top there by Eric Boyer, going over the top of the Croix de Fer. Very, very difficult climb indeed. It might be the thought of climbing this that inspired Greg LeMond to stop what he did. Just look at the crowd there. There's still a sizable group here trying to organise the chase, led up there by the yellow jersey of Miguel Indurain. A very select group of climbers. Claudio Chiappucci, the king of the mountains of this year's Tour de France, dancing along nicely on the side of Miguel Indurain. Robert Miller's still there too, sitting on at the back of this group as they come up towards the top of the climb. So Indurain now still the yellow jersey with his closest rivals around him. The only man he'd be a little concerned about is Andy Hampsten, who's up in the lead, as they head off now all the way down to the valley road that will take them into Bourg d'Oisans. Then they'll turn left in the town of Bourg d'Oisans and begin the long climb up to the top of Alpe d'Huez. The reservoirs and the beautiful valley here. Andy Hampsten now showing to be a real champion rider today. He's taken this Tour de France by the scruff of the neck, and he's trying to put in a top performance. Buño patrolling the peloton, and to his right there was the Mexican Raúl Alcala. The 20 kilometers to go banner. They know now that most of this will be uphill because the climb of Alpe d'Huez is still to come. This is the valley approach that brings them into Bourg d'Oisans, and this sizable little group of 5 men is still holding on to a considerable lead over the chase. And Chiappucci having a much quieter day for him, but still showing no signs of fatigue from that ride yesterday. There he is to the left of our picture. Indurain sitting to the right, and again, as soon as they hit the slopes, look at the acceleration by Chiappucci. And Indurain spotting the move straight away, coming straight out of the field. We're now on the base slopes of Alpe d'Huez with the 21 hairpin bends to the summit. And Claudio looks over his shoulder to see who's joined him, and no surprise, it's the yellow jersey. Well, this is a superb piece of riding yet again by Indurain. With the rider up front they should be worried about is some near 5-minute lead still for Andy Hampsten's group. And here they are, Hampsten on the left, Franco Vona. Jan Nevens, the big surprise yet again, hanging on at the back, and goodness knows how he's feeling on this climb, because Hampsten is a great climber. Vona is having a marvellous couple of days here in the Alps. He was second to Sestriere. And just look at this now, the water being given by the fans. They've been out, as always, coming here some 3 days before the Tour riders to claim their spot on the slopes. Many of the spectators here have been coming for as long as the Tour has been coming here, and always taking the same position. This is the 17th time the Tour de France has finished on top of Alpe d'Huez. In itself, it only goes up to just over 1,800 meters, but it is the way it climbs up so steeply from the village of Bourg d'Oisans that makes it so difficult. And the very first winner up here, back in 1952, was Fausto Coppi. And look at this now, the pace by Hampsten, and he's put Boyer in trouble. So Eric Boyer, who's trying to take over the mantle from Greg LeMond on the climb of Alpe d'Huez, is in trouble and being detached here. Nevens has already gone, I'm not surprised about that. But Vona is hanging on to Andy Hampsten. I've never seen Andy look so good on a climb for years. And it's Chiappucci who's setting the pace, and again Indurain is following. He could be criticised for that, Miguel Indurain, because this great man is so calculating. Andy Hampsten wants no more water over the back of the neck, and nobody else to pat him on the shoulder either. He's made that pretty plain. You can't blame him. I think the crowd sometimes don't realise the sort of pressure that a professional bike rider is under at this point of the race. Hampsten wants no water because he's not hot, and in fact it'll send the shivers down his back. Now halfway up the climb here now, and Vona is looking to be a little bit fallible as well. Andy Hampsten hasn't eased at all. He hasn't even looked round to see what damage he's caused this breakaway for. This is a classic ride. He started the climb, immediately at the start of the climb he set the pace, and one by one he's watched his rivals drop away. The man from Boulder, Colorado, turned professional back in 1985, and then he moved over to Italy. Of course, we all know he won the Tour of Switzerland in 1986, and that was America's first big success in the stage races. And now he's having the greatest moment of his career, I would suggest, because this is the stage everybody wants to win. Sitting at the back here is Richard Virenque, who's had a marvellous tour, his first Tour de France, an early leader, a leader in the King of the Mountains and on points as well as the yellow jersey. Again trying to make the selection today, assuring himself of a high finish in Paris. Indurain, at last he's gone to the front along with Chiappucci, and once the pace has increased there, well, they pulled away nicely from that leading group, and they've shed them all one by one as well. This rider in trouble at the back now, Vona, just under 2 kilometers to go. Franco Vona, though, is hanging on to second place on the road. That's not bad, is it? Second yesterday behind Chiappucci after that wonderful escape by him, and now in second place again here on Alpe d'Huez. That's a great weekend, but the Spaniard, or rather the Italian, has been forced to follow in the shadow of 2 great bike riders these last 2 days. He's one of them, Claudio Chiappucci. The crowd at its thickest now. We're into the chalets, and for Andy Hampsten, he's 1 kilometre from the finish. Twice winner of the Tour of Switzerland, the winner of the Tour of Italy in 1988. Well, this ride isn't going to win in the Tour de France yet, but it's certainly going to move him up the overall classification by quite a long way. He was 8th at the start of the stage today, and this is a ride and a half. Well, he told us last night he wasn't thinking of today's stage. Surely he must have planned this. Andy Hampsten and the Motorola team, they won one stage last year, their first year of sponsorship with Phil Anderson, and now Andy Hampsten is going to give them really the finest stage they could possibly hope for. A look over his shoulder, no one there, Andy. And Andy Hampsten waves to the crowd. A great finish indeed for Andy Hampsten. Bona will come over in second place, and Boyer and Nevins will not be too far behind, but that's the order of finish at Alpe d'Huez. The man of the day, there's no doubt who that was. Andy Hampsten has pulled off the ride of his life here. And thank heavens that the organisation has held the crowd back, because you need all the air you can get when you climb to the top of Alpe d'Huez. And Hampsten, half carried, half dragged away around the back of the stands as winner of this stage of the Tour de France today. He's won it by 1 minute and 17 seconds ahead of Franco Bona, and 2 minutes 8 seconds back to Eric Boyer. Indurain has just come in, 3 minutes 15 seconds down, but that will keep him in the overall lead, as Andy Hampsten thinks only now of the great moment and the $10,000 first prize for being the king of Alpe d'Huez today. And so John Hendershot, the team masseur, done a good job. Andy Hampsten looks now as though he's hardly ridden the race, does he? And a salute to the crowd for Andy Hampsten, who will climb up now to third overall.
That's got to be one of the sweetest days of your life.
I tell you, it's all I've ever wanted my whole career, is just really good form and a good mountain to show it on, and can't ask for more than 500,000 people to cheer me on.
To win at the top of the Alpe d'Huez for a climber must be absolutely extraordinary. How did you feel with 500 meters to go?
I felt pretty good. It was downhill. You know, I rode my own tempo. I wasn't sure if I'd win today, because when the attack went, you know, we're all equal. It went, you know, on the lower part of the quad affair, and I knew that today everyone in that group was pretty equal. So I wasn't thinking so much of winning the stage, so much as just really do my fastest ride on the way up. So I did tempo the entire way. You know, and about halfway I started pushing it, and I could see they're in difficulty. So I felt I could make to the finish and really gave it the stick.
But when you came on the scene, you were one of the most fantastic climbers, and you sort of disappeared for a few years, but now this year you seem to have changed. Your mentality's changed, your training's changed. What's happened to you?
Oh, I don't know. I think before I won a lot of races, just maybe I was a bit naive and had a lot of youthful enthusiasm. Now I'm an old dog. But, you know, I work hard. I've been training real hard. I've had a lot of disappointments, so anything that comes is a gift, and I look at it as a gift, and not, you know, I don't have a quota of races I win a year. Every time I'm in good form, I really have to make the most of it, and when it's a day like this, it's so much better.
One last question. Today we saw the withdrawal of Greg LeMond. Is that sad for you to see LeMond going out to the race in such a way?
Yeah, you know, I haven't really talked to him enough to know what's wrong with him, but yeah, it's kind of sad, because, you know, I started racing with Greg. You know, I remember I was hired the first year as a pro to help him win, and he, you know, on this stage he was, you know, tied with our own teammate. So, you know, it's too bad, but we've all been there, and we've all know how to come back.
Today wasn't Greg LeMond's day, it was Andy Hampsten's day. You're going to go on to try and get onto the top 3 in Paris?
Yeah, you know, I really wanted to get some time today. It was a good group, and I was thinking more of the GC than the stage. But best thing for GC was go as fast as I could up the hill.
Well, I believe me, I didn't want to quit today. I mean, I quit mainly because I was 30 minutes down. Another 3 minutes, I would have been out of the time delay. I had hoped to. I honestly thought I'd be able to stay with a gruppetto and finish within the time delay. I was dropped within 1 kilometer of the start, and it has nothing to do with my cardiovascular system. It has nothing to do with my mind. It's just when your legs are tired and dead, there's nothing I can do. No more. I can't push my body beyond what it can do. So I just have to rest.
But as one American goes down, another one comes up, and Andy Hampsten was the man on top of Alpe d'Huez first by 1 minute and 17 seconds ahead of Bona. Overall, Indurain's lead now over Chiappucci, 1 minute 42, Hampsten up to third. So 3 tough days in the Alps now behind the riders, 198 kilometres left on this 15th stage from Bourg d'Oisans along to Saint-Étienne. And this is Bourg d'Oisans this morning, and Andy Hampsten, well, even Hanley wouldn't have become the first American to win up Alpe d'Huez ride in this machine. The race soon underway, and this breakaway going from the gun this morning. 20 riders breaking away. The lead at the moment just around about 4.5 minutes, and the gain, the speed extraordinarily high, because over 50 kilometres have been covered in this first hour as they race through the Péage de Vizille. And this is one of the nasty little climbs. The riders today saying it was flat, but you know there are 3 small climbs on the hill: the Côte de Georges-Gat, the Côte de Barge, and the Côte de la Croix de Chauberey. This is the Côte de Georges-Gat, nasty little climb. And the rider just getting away from them all here. Richard Veron nibbling away at the king of the mountain points. And the riders here having to struggle on this small climb, the Côte de Georges-Gat. The reason being, it's very, very steep, but it's not very long, and they're totally overgeared for the climb. They're queuing up at the back here, and now they're running into one another. And the rider on the ground there looks like a TVM rider. Well, that will be Rob Harmeling. And you know, Harmeling really has had a strange tour. A win at Bordeaux, quite a bad crash he had on the road into Brussels, and now he's fallen off again. This isn't so serious, though. Well, this is a little by-road, and the organisation bringing the tour up off the by-road over this short climb. Very little used by traffic. And then the riders return back down to the main road. It's really caught 1 or 2 riders out, including the great climber there, Fernando Quevedo, sitting at the back of the field. And walking up the hill, Jesus Montoya on the left of our picture as well. They can't get up. Just look at the struggle that Harmeling is having on that bottom gear of his. There's Montoya, and the rider over to the right here, and it looks like he's going places. Quevedo has gone down again. Well, these are the 2 leaders. They are originally from that breakaway of 20, which has largely been swept up now. Fabio Roscioli and Harold Meyer in the lead from the PDM team. And the main field here, although they're showing a little bit of action now, they're still over 4 minutes behind those 2 out front. They don't threaten the overall lead, of course, of Miguel Indurain, but they've gone for the stage win. And that's down in Saint-Étienne today. Always a difficult road into Saint-Étienne because it's very hilly just before you come down into the bicycle city, which was once the main manufacturing centre of bicycles and the home of the former Mercier bicycles, which used to be rode by the great man himself, Raymond Poulidor, 6 times second in the Tour de France. And the riders now onto the climb of the Col de la Croix de Chauberey, second category climb. Coccioli having a go. Coccioli trying to get across the gap. The gap is down to 1 minute. Coccioli, we haven't seen too much of him all tour. He's tried desperately to win a stage in the Alps, and he's failed every time, and now just going past the rider there from TVM, and that was Dmitry Konishev that's been passed. This is Ronan Pensek, another rider we haven't seen too much for. This is the chase down now as we get down towards Saint-Étienne. It's a long, long drop, and the drops are always dangerous. You can see now the rain has started to fall here. Ronan Pensek trying to catch it. Oh, and he's gone. Pensek has gone, and that wheel has gone under our camera on the motorbike here. Well, the motorcyclist did well to stay upright there, but the escape by Pensek has gone, and that leaves out in front now Franco Coccioli. And this is a win which we expected to come a lot earlier than this, but he's going to get it now. Franco Coccioli is something like 30 seconds ahead of the rest of the riders. So Franco Coccioli, his first Tour de France, and at last he gets his stage win he's promised all through the race. And so Coccioli wins, but the yellow jersey stays firmly on the shoulders of Miguel Indurain, conserving all of his lead. There's the stage result. Konishev 42 seconds back. Perini having a great tour in 3rd place. Jalabert was 4th. Kierpuccido a minute 42 seconds behind Indurain. Hampsten is 3rd. And so the race goes on. Saint-Étienne to La Bourboule, 212 kilometres today, the 16th stage of the event. And after the Battle of the Alps now, just 133 riders surviving from the 216 that left San Sebastian. Here's Alan Piper.
Things seem to be quietening down a little bit. The guys aren't so nervous today. Well, they were in the start. But we seem to be rolling to Paris. I think everybody knows today's the last dangerous day. After that, straight to the Champs-Élysées. Party Sunday night at the Mexican restaurant. I'll be dancing on the table with Konishev. He's going to bring his vodka.
Well, Alan, thanks for the sandwich as well, and we'll see you on the Champs-Élysées. Well, the rain has started again now. Oh, and dear me, that's Jesus Montoya who's gone down. And the other rider almost went with him, did well to stay upright there. As the riders come into the town of La Bourboule, and this is Thierry Marie, who's trying to keep himself at the front of the frame with the Castorama team, but the Once riders have got themselves at the head of the race, and there's trouble here at the back. And this, I think, is Laurent Fignon who's punctured. And Laurent Fignon struggling a little bit here to get his bike put right, but doesn't seem to be too concerned about the speed of the change. And Fignon, who rides on the Italian Bianchi bicycles these days, now back in the action as well. A bad time to puncture though, and he's going to have a bit of a chase to get back into it. Stephen Roche further up the climb. I wonder if he knows that the weather forecast at the top is atrocious. There's dense fog waiting for Roche at the top of this climb as he heads up the lower slopes of La Bourboule. But he's trying desperately to get something out of this Tour de France. He's threatened so much over the few weeks we've had at this race already. This is Eric Breukink, one of the favoured outsiders of this year's Tour de France. He hasn't really featured, but he's coming stronger as the days tick down now of this year's Tour. And still that man is there, Claudio Chiappucci. If anybody goes on the attack, Chiappucci seems to take it as a personal offence against himself and always counters the move. Not surprising though, Indurain not far behind now, making sure Chiappucci gains no time at all. Perhaps now Roche will be allowed the opportunity to move a little bit further ahead on this long climb towards the summit of La Bourboule, because Chiappucci has been brought back by Miguel Indurain. There's Jean-François Bernard just going through our picture, the teammate of Indurain, and Chiappucci forced now to follow the wheels of the Benesto squad. Well, I suppose if you spend the best part of $20 million a year on a big team, you should pick up the best riders, and it is a marvellous team, Benesto. They have a man for every day. And when they haven't got a man for every day, well, Indurain can usually handle what's going on. Neil Stevens doing a great climb here. It's great tempo. Now look at these conditions. We're waiting at the finishing line. All our cameras have gone down on the lower slopes because visibility has gone down to virtually nil. Roche is still away and should come through that murk. We don't know how far he is ahead, but he's not very far. But Stephen Roche has gone back to the greatness of his years in 1987 when he won the Tour de France. He's threatened to do something big throughout this Tour. He's doing it now. The former winner of the Tour of Italy, the former world champion in 1987. He won in conditions very similar to this on the Aubisque almost 10 years ago in the Pyrenees. And now Stephen Roche is coming to the top of another mountain, La Bourboule. The first time the Tour de France has ever been here. What a shame we couldn't have followed him all the way up the climb. These last 250 metres, though, will be all for Stephen. As he comes up towards the climb, the best part of a minute still protected of his lead on the climb. And out of the murk, there he is, Stephen Roche, the professional to the end, puts his hat on and wins the day.
I couldn't believe the times I was getting, like I kept going up and up and up, so especially on the foot of the hill at 30 seconds and going up I was 40 seconds, you know. No.
What's the move?
And the congratulations there from Bernard Hinault, 5 times winner.
Was the idea pre-planned, or were we just trying to open up the road for Chiappucci?
Well, Chiappucci said he'd like to try and win today if he could, you know, but so I said, well, the only way he's going to be able to win is if I can attack in the final. But when the final meant the last hill, so then I decided that, well, I'll try. There's no point letting a group going away if I could try and go with it. So when I saw Chioccioli and Simon going away on the second on the last hill there, I tried going with them, and when I caught them, I went past them, and nobody got my wheel. So I got it was very long, very far to the finish. But on the other hand, I raced it from on my own, not be beaten in the sprint.
And so the return to the Carrera team this year for Stephen Roche has worked wonders for him, finishing ahead of Vyacheslav Yakimov. Overall, though, still no change. Indurain ahead of Chiappucci and Andy Hampsten. 17th stage, 189 kilometres away from La Bourboule and on to Montluçon. And this a ride with only 4 fourth category climbs on it. A chance for a toe there from Stephen Roche off the yellow jersey of Miguel Indurain. And the Tour now down to 131 riders. Just for the record, the last rider, Fernando Quevedo, almost 4 hours behind the race leader, Miguel Indurain. Early attacking riding again, this time Jean-Claude Colotti out in front, and joined at the front by Frans Maassen, the Dutchman, and those 3 riders on the attack. The other rider up there was the Panasonic rider, Marc Sergeant. Coming through the feed here, the breakaway has built the sort of lead that's looking good. Strong attack there. And look at this, Jean-Claude Colotti is gone. Now there's a great rivalry exists between Panasonic and the Buckler team, and you know, neither of those riders prepared to lead the other one up to Jean-Claude Colotti. Well, the Benestos keeping the tempo at the front for Miguel Indurain. None of those riders in the front really concerning them. And they're not interested either. And the rivalry has left the other two way behind, and Jean-Claude Collotti has been given here one of the easiest wins of this year's Tour de France, and he knows it. Some consolation for Greg LeMond's Z team, and a victory for the sprinter, a rider who's ridden well in Paris-Roubaix, but this is going to be his proudest moment. He'll remember this one forever. Jean-Claude Collotti cannot believe his luck here. He's profited from the rivalry of the two top Dutch teams, and they are not going to be happy with that. Look at that. Masson is second, Sergent is third, and they allowed Collotti to escape. Overall, no change at all. And this is the 18th stage, 212 kilometres, and by the end of the day, the riders will have covered more than 2,000 miles. Jesper Skibby here, looking a little bit like Hiawatha. The rider's in good mood because this is a flat stage and there shouldn't be any problems for Miguel Indurain. He's thinking now of the second to last day's time trial between Blois and Nanterre as the next challenge to him. Is this a sign of truce from Claudio Chiappucci? You know, I doubt it very much. And so does Miguel Indurain. He doesn't think so either. And the race continues at high speed. A little sprint here, but now what's the matter with Alan Piper?
I'm angry. I've attacked about 5 times and all these guys are asking me what I'm doing it for. I said to Fondriest, I've been a whole week just getting inside the time limit while you guys race up these mountains, and now I want to attack and you think we should ride slowly. Whackers. They got Ludwig in their team, and Monsieur's just up there and Van Poppel's up there, so we'll have a nice little bunch sprint at the end. But I don't think it's going to happen, man. So I'm going to attack at least 100 more times.
Alan Piper in great form, but there were times during this Tour de France when he seriously thought he wasn't going to see the end of his last big trip, La Grande Boucle. Well, the strong tailwinds are keeping this race more or less together today and making it very difficult. This is Phil Anderson trying to break away, and perhaps Frans Masson behind him trying to make amends for the way through that stage away the other day with Marc Sergent, and gave it to Jean-Claude Collotti. The field continually regrouping here. They're just trying to get off the front towards the finish. And I'm surprised that they do it now. Alan Piper may be wrong, actually. He didn't think it would be a bunch sprint. There's a small group still hanging on out there, but they're constant attacking from the main field. There's a lot of riders still feel they have a stage win in them. Whether they can do it or not, well, time will tell. Stephen Roche again trying to steal a few seconds and again launching an attack. He's being joined by Maurizio Fondriest in the Panasonic colours. This is a good move. The wind coming slightly off the left shoulder of Roche at the moment, and Claudio Chiappucci, well, that could be trouble because Indurain surely now will be forced to chase. The time gap between the two still rests at 1 minute 42 seconds. And this is Piper now having a go. Piper trying to break clear of the peloton. They're right behind them. And Piper going clear now. Well, he's as good as his word. He's going to keep on attacking until they get fed up, and hopefully the elastic will snap. But the field, as you can see it, this sprint here are right behind him. There's no more time bonuses, by the way, on the sprints this year in the Tour, so the big boys aren't taking part in them anymore. And the field gradually coming back together. A small bunch now, isn't it? 130 riders left in the race from those 216 that set out from San Sebastian. Still the riders no longer with any thoughts of a high overall position in this year's Tour de France, trying to slip away for victory. Slip away they can. It's Alberto Elli who's gone clear now for the Ari-Austria team, and I think it was Frison with him, but they've been swept up as well. And on the approach to Tours, it's a long straight here. This is Thierry Marie of France, surprisingly at the front. Yellow Nidam tracking him. He's got a good chance of winning. Acacio da Silva on the far right. He opens up the sprint now. Nidam's got him. Marie goes with them. Acacio da Silva, the yellow jersey in Luxembourg a couple of years ago, as he leads to the wine now. Nidam trying to come on his shoulder. Marie in the slipstream, and the sprinters are coming. Johan Museo, Olaf Ludwig, Laurent Jalabert, they're all there pushing now all the way, but Marie is going to get this. Thierry Marie on the line, and that is a big surprise. Marie winning ahead of Nidam. Museo is third, and Olaf Ludwig finishing fourth. Overall, no change at all. Hampsten holds on to third place. So the race now facing up to its second big time trial, 64 kilometres between Tours and Blois. And today should be the day that we will see Miguel Indurain confirm himself as the winner of the 1992 Tour de France. The rider down the ramp there, Stephen Hodge, but this is another Stephen Roche now. as he approaches the finishing line in the time trial at Blois. On the time for Roach, 1 hour 16 minutes and 32 seconds. It's not going to be the best time today, though. And Claudio Chiappucci, who managed to spring an early surprise in the final time trial last year when he led at the first check, well, he too now is under the shadow of Miguel Indurain, who is on an absolute flyer. Claudio Chiappucci, though, about to win the King of the Mountains for the second year in succession and to maintain a high overall finish in Paris. That's his aim. Bugno, though, has followed in the wheel tracks of Indurain as well. He's going through with the second best time at the checks and riding a much better time trial behind Miguel Indurain as he did in the first time trial when he was an absolute disaster. But Indurain is in his element once again. You give this man a bike, you put him out on his own, and he certainly is the best time trialist in the world right now. Chiappucci coming up to the finish, and Chiappucci's time will only be a top 6 finish for him today, and he's conceding almost 3 minutes to Miguel Indurain at the checks as he finishes, and Indurain now almost catching Chiappucci here, who was second to last to start. Indurain's time, the best ride of the day, 1 hour 13 minutes 21 seconds. Bugno faring much better, losing only 40 seconds to Indurain. He finished in second place and stays in third place overall behind Chiappucci. So the same 3 names now that finished in the top 3 positions in the Tour de France 1 year ago have got the top 3 positions overall for this stage, taking the riders now onto Nanterre, and it's 222 kilometres. And the riders, not surprisingly now, feeling in a little bit more relaxed mood, and that's the reason why Michel Dernisse here is taking on a competitor from a different sport. Look at this. Come on, Michel. Come on, Michel. Half a length up. Well done. Victory to Michel Dernisse. Well, there's still 2 more stage victories when he might get a stage win in this year's Tour de France yet. Again, the attacks coming on these long flat roads as we head now up towards the finish at Nanterre today, and then we'll be on the outskirts of Paris, and tomorrow it's La Défense and on to the Champs-Élysées. The Tour de France still running at record speed, and the race now very much under the control of the Banesto boys as this small escape has survived the day. Nobody of importance here, but Peter de Klerk will think it's important, trying to get another stage win for Lotto. Jan Neven scored the first in Koblenz, and Peter de Klerk now holding off Van Zelle from the GBM team, and Thierry Laurent is the rider coming up there as well. Laurent on the left, Van Zelle on the right, but de Klerk takes the stage, and none of those riders in that leading group some 7 minutes back to the main field containing Miguel Indurain. They didn't affect the overall positions at all. Chiappucci stays second, Bugno third, Hamston fourth after that time trial, and that for him is a little bit disappointing. So to the final stage of the Tour de France, 141 kilometres, the race starting from here, La Défense. You can drive to the finishing line in approximately 10 minutes by car, but the way the riders are going, it's going to take them quite a few hours. 141 kilometres and 130 riders lining up for the last stage of this year's Tour de France. The riders coming round to the Valley of the Chevreuse, no attacks of note all day, and now we're on to the Champs-Élysées, and the attacks have started. Vyacheslav Yekimov, former world champion of the amateurs, and now, of course, the defending world champion very shortly if he rides in the World Championships of the pursuit over 5,000 metres. Let's see just how fast he is here, because this is a tremendous race for the line. The field are boring down on him. He's got a real good chance, though. He winds it up. He won a stage like this last year when he went in the last couple of kilometres. He keeps looking over his shoulder. That's an elementary mistake. When you're out in front, you don't look where the rest are, because there isn't much you can do about them. You just go as fast as you can across the Place de la Concorde here now, over the cobblestones. He'll flick right very shortly. Then he'll see the finish. That looks good. It looks really good for Vyacheslav Yekimov. He could be picking off one of the most coveted stages in any Tour de France to win on the Champs-Élysées. Something that the American John Pierce once found when he rode for 7-11. That was a great moment for him. Now it could be for the former Soviet here as Vyacheslav Yekimov lines up for the finish, and the field line up behind him. And the sprinters on the far right, that is Johan Museo, still looking for the stage win and coming very, very quickly indeed. And to the far, far right too he goes, and Museo now eating up, and look at this, Ludwig has come through, Olaf Ludwig, the teammate of Yekimov, has gone over the top of Yekimov. Ludwig gets it on the line, and Van Poppel robbed into second place. Johan Museo was third, Jalabert was fourth, all of the top sprinters, but the winner of the Tour de France, Miguel Indurain, receives the generous congratulations. He was the strongest rider in this race, and there isn't a man in it who will tell you that he was not. Tremendous applause from the crowd on the Champs-Élysées. The winner of the Tour of Italy now becomes the first Spanish rider to do the double in the same year. The French have a champion too this year in Laurent Jalabert, and one day, you know, he could win the Tour de France. He's a terrific all-rounder. He comes out the winner on points. He won over Johan Museo. It was a good battle between Museo and Jalabert, but in the end, Jalabert rather went into a clear victory. Claudio Chiappucci, the polka dot jersey for the second year in succession for him. And what a great cyclist he is. He entertains the crowd from start to finish. His greatest memory, undoubtedly, and ours as well, on the road to Sestriere. He wins the King of the Mountains, and justly so. Look at that point score ahead of Richard Virenque of France and Franco Chioccioli of Italy in third. The man who gets the biggest line of the lot on the Champs-Élysées, and the biggest cheer too, Miguel Indurain. He's now done the double for Spain. Can he finish it off with a world title as well and join Stephen Roach's Eddy Merckx as one of only 3 to do that? And so all that remains of this year's Tour de France is to see the parade of riders as they now take their lap of honour here on the Champs-Élysées. And believe me, every one of the finishers, all 130 of them, deserve that. This has been a tough Tour de France, even without the Pyrenees. 1/3 of the field has dropped out. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our coverage on video of the 1992 Tour de France. Until the next time, when we meet again, this is Phil Liggett saying goodbye.